Alright, really quick little self-plug for me. I am DJ Digga Beats, and I come from Salt Lake City. I've played all over the country for the last 20 years, but I gotta tell you, we have got some really, really good talent right here in Salt Lake. And I've been playing a lot of music from local artists, but I want to take this opportunity to play one of my own and tell you where you can find me at digga.tv, digga.tv, that's my website, or you can just Google Digga Beats, D-I-G-G-A-B-E-A-T-Z. And this is a track I made a couple years ago called The Wind Up. Everybody, it's time to get funky. This is another one I want to see if you can't find it. Some of you out there old enough to remember the Ad Lover dance.
Salt Lake City is almost time. In about 1 minute, we're bringing out our athletes for an observation. Here they come. Every single one of them. This is how it works in common ground. All together, they've got 2 minutes per Boulder. As I was saying, exactly 2 minutes per Boulder. They're on a very strict timer. Timer has begun. They get 2 minutes per Boulder, they move on to the next. Kind of a unique situation because they can, in this case, they can work together, they can talk it out amongst themselves. The Boulders, they tend to be harder. So 2 minutes, it seems like a lot, it's not much. But it helps you get a small edge. Go to the Boulders a little more prepared. So they can do that 2 minutes per Boulder. That's 2 minutes over. Then we're going to send it back. We got a 7-minute break. Then we'll bring out the first timer and we kick it. You all enjoy the music. Let's watch the music artists do what they do. Why don't you give a little bit of love while you're at it? Not that we're paying attention to you per se, but I can say the feeling of now. So I'll go back and visit you for a few minutes, please. Go on and go with them. And then on to the next one, just like that. sports, our athletes are allowed to touch the startles. So it's probably all the things they're doing that they're allowed to touch. Nothing else, but they are allowed to touch the startles. So take what they can get.
How about you use here? Left foot. Right foot here and left foot. Right foot. I'm not here. It's quite nice. Yeah. You got a corner on. So far away. I don't know what happened. Yeah. Oh, that's I know you just stand up forward.
cheer for our athletes one time if they have back. We're heading to the short break. And then we're going to bring out and introduce them to you one by one. 5 o'clock. We start bringing them out.
Welcome back to the finals for the Salt Lake City Boulder World Cup. There is nothing left to do now but climb some boulders. The route setters have finished their work. They look really, really good. We are going to get underway first with the women's final, followed by the men's final. We're going to take a quick look back at some of the highlights from the semifinal round and show you how these athletes got into the final. Just having a quick look at the boulders on the wall. This is what we're going to be treated with today. Six finalists come through. All right, here we go with a look at the highlights from the semi-final round.
A quick look at one of the most difficult boulders in the round, as it did not see a top at all. And then on the right, we have ORIANE BERTONE stepping into her first women's climb and absolutely walking it with creativity. And she kind of kept that momentum throughout the entire round.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we get a good look at the compression boulder. MIHO NONAKA, really good show of control here. You'll see a little slip that she manages to reel back in. It's a veteran composure right there. And on her way to a smooth top.
The women had a pretty interesting number 3, where actually every woman topped women's boulder number 3. We had Jessica PILZ on that boulder right there, as JOHANNA FÄRBER gets through this boulder actually, and that is the reason that she will be in the final here tonight. Yeah. And this will be her second final ever in her World Cup circuit career. Yeah, really critical piece of climbing right at the end. Quick look at the compression boulder from the top, just to show you how bad those holds really are. And then an exciting moment, we had back-to-back tops from the American women. both Brooke Raboudou and Natalia Grossman were absolutely on fire in the semifinal round, and this is the second competition in a row for Natalia making a final and Brooke Raboudou's very first World Cup bouldering final.
Yeah, so that is, and they're up on the big stage. Here's a great look at the jump. This boulder gave some of the men absolute fits.
That was a quick look at Mejdi on men's number 2.
The clock was running down on him here, and he was moving very quickly, and you got a really good look at this technique to finish this boulder. So a combination, that boulder. You see the second variation for sticking the jump.
And another variation for sticking the top by Anze.
The toe hook proved to be very important. Jakob Schubert on the footless traverse.
I'm sure he's extremely happy to be in the final tonight as he missed out on semis in Meiringen.
Boulder 4 also gave the men lots of trouble. You see Adam Andre here, one of only 2 climbers to top the boulder across all 20 semifinalists. And he made the top look a lot easier than everyone else did. Meanwhile, Natalia Grossman topping a just missing rarely topped boulder, but would come back. Adam Andre is super happy.
And Kokoro Fuji getting the only top on this boulder, and really showing how patience is going to pay off here, because so many of the men were able to get one hand on the finish hold here, but he really stuck to his guns and made sure to be super intentional with every placement, and he'll end up holding here for a little bit just to figure out how to perfectly match this boulder and being the only one to send it.
Yeah, the contact strength required to stick that, and given the strength of all the men in the round, and that just that little flag was the difference that got him that top and put him solidly in control of the round. So this is we're going through the observation now, so the athletes come out. We get to see them all one at a time, and then the format, if you've never watched the finals before, we have 4 boulder problems, and all of the women will climb each boulder one after another in the same order every time. So they're all going to climb boulder number 1, they're all going to climb boulder number 2, and then 3, and then 4. In the same order every time. It's going to be ORIANE BERTONE, and then MIHO NONAKA, Jessica PILZ, JOHANNA FÄRBER, Brooke Raboudou, and then Natalia Grossman. So they'll keep that order on every boulder. Exactly the same as in the semifinal round. Tops are king, attempts are critical, and zones are what you are looking for if you are not topping boulders.
Exactly, and in between each boulder, they will go back to behind the wall. There was a time when athletes would sit out in front of the wall, but that's been long gone. So you'll see them run in and out of that doorway that they're coming out of right now, in between each climb.
They only get 4 minutes in this round. They had 5 minutes in the qualifier, 5 minutes in the semi. They get 4 minutes to try the boulder, but then because they're trying it one after another, they get about a 20-minute rest between boulders. So, because you've previewed the boulders, so the athletes come out, they don't see them before they come to the venue, but they come out for observation. They get 2 minutes to look at every boulder. So now, you've got a little bit of collaboration. Sometimes they'll talk about, especially if the teammates are together, the boulders now in the final can be harder, trickier, showier, because you have a chance to look at them, talk about them, and your rests are 20 minutes long. So expect to see a lot of interesting movement in the finals. We walked through and looked at the boulders, and I do believe you are in for a treat.
Yeah, they definitely have some exciting movements out there. A lot more dynamic than what we've seen in the previous rounds here this weekend. But I would still say sticking to that theme of some really bad footholds.
Yeah, it has, as we looked over the boulders each round and then looked at them as we came into the final, it's really been, I mean, maybe consciously, maybe not really, but it has been a focus on delicate footwork. We talked about some of the boulders that didn't get sent in the semifinal round, men's number 1 notably, and the route setters. I mean, it's just rock climbing. Get on your feet, stay on your feet. The slab, they say, wasn't that hard, but obviously you layer in on-side climbing and all of the other factors. But they were surprised to see that one not get as many tops.
I feel like that could be one of the kind of boulders where it's like maybe if they just had a little more time, if it wasn't 5 minutes but 7 minutes, it could have been a difference. You see that occasionally happen where it's just too cryptic for a 5-minute clock. And
exactly.
again, in finals, we have a 4-minute clock, but they do that because you have the preview. So you don't need to take 30 seconds a minute. You should be able to come out here and get right on the boulder right away.
Yeah, you take a quick double check to make sure that you've got on my left, right, on my right, left, and then you get up on it. And it's a good look. They are allowed, as you see here, to touch the start holds, but they cannot even hesitate about leaving the ground. So you're allowed to touch the start hold, which seems like it might be kind of unimportant, but understanding the angle of the start holds is going to help you on your first attempt not go, oh, is it a bit to the left? Is it a bit to the right? Am my left foot on the ground? My right foot on the ground? So it's going to give you information that's critical for getting that start off right away. So we're going to start with women. Men final will come after, and we're going to go in the order, the reverse order from which they qualified. So that's going to be ORIANE BERTONE, MIHO NONAKA, Jessica PILZ, JOHANNA FÄRBER, BROOKE RABOUTOU, and NATALIA GROSSMAN. The crowd is going to be all about American women coming out as 2 and 1 in this final.
I think it may have been the only time we've seen women qualify this high from the U.S. together. We've had multiple women in finals in the past. Not sure they qualified in first and second before, so this crowd is most likely going to get pretty rowdy.
Yeah, and a good final on the men's side. We're going to have Mejdi Schlack from France. We have Anze Pahark, Jakob Schubert, Gregor Vizonik, Adam Andra, and Kokoro Fuji. Those are all heavy hitters and a couple of slightly newer to the scene, and we're going to see how well they do under the pressure of, I would say, the big lights, but it's still daylight out.
The big stage.
The big stage. So we are just going to get rolling with the women, and we are focused. There is no, if you watch the semifinal and you were a bit lost with the slipping around and the moving back and forth because we're trying to show you so much climbing, here we are focused. We are hanging out with ORIANE for 4 minutes.
And this is her second final in a few weeks, and this is her first year on the World Cup circuit, so it's pretty impressive to already be in 2 finals. Yeah,
a good youth career, but at 16 years old, this is it's very impressive to come out on your first year on the Open Tour and just and not even really need an intro. You don't finish slow in a couple rounds. You just absolutely came out and started throwing down. So gentle moving here, just getting a hand on the zone. So a bit of a slab climb to start.
I just like how confidently she came out and just jumped up on the boulder, because in reality, starting that boulder is kind of weird because you don't actually put your feet on the hold. You're just kind of hanging it there and letting it touch the hold before you start, and that could be a little weird, but she came out and was like, this is what I'm doing.
Really good work through these little crimps.
Having to want it here because they are nasty to grab, but looks like she should be able to rock over and get to that top.
Yeah, the top is decent, but you definitely have to get it right. If you come up a bit shallow on that dish, you are going to wish you were just a little bit more precise. So on a flash attempt to get to the last hold, it sort of triggers in you, you're like, okay, I can do this. And now becomes the interesting game of clock management. So do you give yourself a 1 minute rest and kind of have an attempt, safe in case you slip, or do you kind of go right away? This is where you're going to start to see, and we get a really good look because we're not moving away from the athletes. We see their strategy. We see them kind of getting psyched, looking back at the holds. Can I do something a bit different? Did I need to do something a bit different? Where was my foot? Like, all of this is continually running through their minds. So we get to see a lot more through their time management and their strategy when we are in the final round.
And the other part of this, too, is making sure you remember exactly how you got up there in the first place. And that'll be key because you don't want to be giving away attempts at all. And ORIANE is doing a good job of probably letting the clock run down a little bit to recover and not use as many attempts.
And so you see a good look at the start. It's you're just kind of hanging out on the bottom. It doesn't give you a lot of help, so you're on your arms straight away. And then, as we noted, just tiny, tiny little feet.
I feel like so many of the women, though, are really good at this style of climbing. They're so used to grabbing really small holds and having to just lock them down and trusting their feet, as ORIANE is crushing this again. See if she can get over enough on the top. It would be good to bring that other hand in faster.
Oh, wow.
Whoa, that was really risky.
It was just a moment where you weren't sure if she was going to keep sliding, and she absolutely, contact strength to do that is wonderful. That is a great top. And what we were talking about a bit in the semifinal, because all the athletes are together behind the wall, you go to a secondary isolation, but they all sit together. they have an idea how long it took you. They hear the crowd. There's a lot of knowledge, and then they all collect together in the secondary ISO. Occasionally, athletes, did you send the boulder? Did you not send the boulder? But it adds a layer to the final in which you generally know who's sending boulders and what you need to do to get through maybe and win a comp. So it is a little bit more gamesmanship, a little bit more strategy on that side of everybody knows whether I'm crushing or not crushing.
It's definitely far more stressful having a better idea, and not just an idea, but like kind of a clear-cut notion that something's being topped. So if you start falling behind, it's really hard to keep that mental game strong in order to keep being successful throughout the competition, even if you have a bad start.
Yeah, absolutely.
MIHO NONAKA quickly up into the zone section.
So what you see there is her tops and attempts from the semi-final round, and then on the right, as we come across that little half bar on women's one, as she controls the zone, and then you're going to get little campusing on fair. Oh, and it bit her a little bit. She left her foot. I mean, there is a foothold there, and she elected to maybe try and go on top of the dual techs,
which not the best idea in order to have to rock over to that Waco circular hold. That's the finish hold. That is just far enough to make it kind of difficult to get to the match, but it looks like something easy to correct.
Yeah, and she's a powerful climber, and I think, you know, given the way that she was moving, she's thinking, I'm just gonna hop, and I'll be strong enough to control the finish. I can match, I can swing. I'm not gonna come sliding out of this hold. And what happened was, you know, before that she lost her foot. So you have to be engaged all the time, and it does happen. You see people kind of lose a tiny bit of focus thinking about the top, and they'll slip in the middle somewhere and a move they've already done. So that's something to keep an eye on, is whether they've, as you say, remembered what they did the first time, and are they being careful enough to re-execute.
And what you just said is really important too. You have to stay so present, because if you're thinking about, oh, the top is so close, you can't do that, because if you lose your focus for half a second, next thing you know, you're falling off the boulder. See if she can hop to the finish. One hand.
Yeah, as we said, just a really good show of, again, contact strength. Come past plumb line.
Extreme contact strength.
So she's happy, and that's second try is
same as ORIANE.
Really, really good. And it is interesting, you know, if you're a fan of climbing and you've watched a lot of climbing, a lot of competitions, you'll start to get a feel for the order of the boulders. So the route setters are not. Another good look at just
fully getting
the control.
Horizontal.
Wonderful. Now the route setters are obviously paying attention to the holds they're putting on the wall and the moves they're trying to create, but they, over all 3 rounds, are thinking about what order are the boulders in. So you come out of ISO, you're excited, you're like ready to go punch something, and then you get a boulder that's be careful. So you have to kind of control your adrenaline and control your excitement for getting on the first boulder, and there's lots and lots and lots of tools in the route setter's bag to just
keep you on your toes.
Keep you literally on your toes.
So that's a little tricky, the way that Jessie just started this boulder. You have to kind of drag your feet, and because she's a little taller, she had to make sure she dragged them onto the actual hold, because her left foot was still a little to the left of the hold for a second. Which is a little awkward to have to find. You have to just press and find the hold for a second.
And kind of blindly. And you might notice climbers who make mistakes getting established on the start will get called off right away. The judge won't let them climb the boulder. They'll pull them down immediately if they don't start in order with the rules.
Having to come into this cross, which is one of the more, it's really the first crux of the boulder, the most difficult part of the boulder.
And sort of fold into that undercling really gets your biceps going.
I honestly wonder if anyone will try to go double to this finish, because I mean, if you can get 2 hands on it, I feel like it could maybe control it a little better, because your right hand drops anyway.
Oh, just her left foot, just as she was generating momentum, and you could see the way she was kind of winding her foot onto that hold. She wasn't super confident that it was going to hold on a move that you're generating quite a lot of force.
And these holds are dual textured holds, so one part of the hold has a friction side and the other part has a slippery surface. So they're putting their foot on the little sliver that is textured, but the majority of the surface of the hold is that slippery texture. So they are not working with a lot. They have to be so precise, and to be precise and generate that much power, it's a really hard thing to do.
Absolutely, and you're also not forgetting that you're on some very small crimps at this point. So if you kind of over-generate, then you run the risk of just popping that hand off while you're trying to put all of your efforts into that one move. But this is what they train for, so she'll correct this mistake, I'm sure. She knows what it feels like on that foothold now when she presses down, but good look at that. That's a little undercling.
It's a lot of strain on the fingers. Honestly, my forearms kind of hurt. Just like that stretch that's happening when you're trying to cross through on that hold like that can be a little intense. Let's see if she can get enough momentum and keep the foot. Nice little, almost had it. She smeared a little with the right foot to kind of push her weight over a bit more, but just not enough.
No, higher than the try before, and the foot didn't slip until she was in there. And it doesn't look like it's going to, I don't think that foot's going to hold for anyone.
No.
Even our sort of taller climbers, you're still going to be, keep a
nice push off of the sidewall there.
Yeah. And then, I mean, she was in pretty good control, but you are hanging body weight off of a sloping lip.
And then hanging on to a very tiny crimp that eventually
you just got to eventually just go. Yeah. And you notice here, so she's, because of the long rest, you are going to see the athletes, when they're hunting for tops, they're going to pop back up on the wall pretty quick. So she's taking not a lot of time in between. It is Boulder 1, so she should be relatively fresh. This is going to be the last attempt, though.
See if she can just get a little more push to the left at the finish hold. Just not able to hold it. This is where one arm hangs actually comes really in handy.
Yeah.
But she's going to go for it, though.
She's going to go for it. It's a quick climbing boulder. So
and in a final, I mean, why not?
Why not?
You gotta give it all.
Yeah,
and she knows that the other women have tops, so she doesn't want to fall behind.
Yeah, but she does have to hustle. It took her longer to get established, kind of rushing into the start. I don't think she's going to get enough here, but yeah.
Smart move. That's a very seasoned competitor decision. She knew the clock was coming down, and she couldn't get to the top of the boulder, so why stress her fingers again on that cross move?
Yeah, absolutely. 24 years old, but has been around since, in competition scene since 2010. So as a youth athlete, most of the climbers you're going to see now have come through the youth system first. Just this is a really good look at how slopey that last hold, and she's on it for almost long enough.
Almost. Very close. She just
FÄRBER
kind of needed to engage a little more with her shoulders.
Yeah, a little bit higher maybe, right? And you're not sort of dead hanging off your, on a fully extended shoulder, and it gives you a little bit more body control. But that's easy from here, from where we're sitting.
Yeah, looks like a just really quick tweak.
Yeah, really easy adjustment, just a little bit higher.
Johanna FÄRBER getting through that start quickly, like most of the women have been doing. It's honestly a pretty friendly start.
It is, yeah.
Your entrance into the boulder is enjoyable, and then they slam you right here with a very aggressive cross, and you have to stand on that foot and then move into this really razor blade crimp section. Moving really nicely, so she can get enough power.
Oh, wow.
That was incredible.
That's great control. That right hand staying on that crimp, making a huge difference.
A flash on that boulder will put her in first right now. And what she did differently was she kind of got up way higher and was able to catch it so much higher than the other women were, and kind of bring that right foot in to balance her and not have to let go.
Because she was higher, avoided the swing. And because she's up higher, you see that right hand stays on the crimp, and that helps control the swing. I mean, it takes it out of the question, completely out of the question. So really, really good climbing from Johanna there, and she will be psyched to go back into ISO with a flash of the first boulder.
Yeah, a flash on final number 1.
You kind of walk it back into secondary ISO, standing a little bit taller.
You see Brooke RABOUTOU brought a towel out to wipe her feet before getting on the boulder. And also the front of the mats have a little carpeted section, which is really nice. You can wipe your feet there too, but you want to have all of the friction. So Brooke choosing to go with her right hand first, which is not what we've seen any of the other women do so far. It's definitely a little more difficult. We'll see if she adjusts
And sort of getting established that left foot up. The angles change when you go right hand first.
So high on her toe, almost like as if she was in a ballet shoe, actually.
That's a,
Oh,
it is
looks,
a
luckily
slap,
she's
but
flexible.
luckily she's flexible. And kind of, I wonder, in the middle of that move, you're thinking, I think I might be doing this wrong, but I think I can fix it.
Yeah, I'm going to deal with this. If I don't finish the boulder this time, I'm not doing that start again, is what I bet's running through her mind right now. I'm going to do something different.
Do something a little bit different.
It was a great way of handling that decision, but...
You see there, she just gave a little test of the zone undercling before she committed into that crimp, just to give it a little feel, know what you're coming for. Excellent footwork.
Crossing nicely.
A hallmark of her first 2 rounds was just wonderfully precise footwork.
She's very comfortable on small holds. Now she's a little shorter, so this is going to be more of a jump, and I think it'd be very hard for her to actually hold with both hands on, but she should be able to, oh, she's going to try to stand in the T-nuts again. Here she goes. Can she generate off them?
Yes.
Oh, and she can.
That's remarkable. That's the second time
in this competition today. Standing in the T-nuts, hey, it's a great way to climb. When you are shorter, you have to start to figure out ways to put yourself in better positions, and that is a great way to give yourself some extra feet. Yeah,
agreed. But I would invite you the next time you're in your gym, if you're able to climb in gyms right now, the next time you're in the gym, I would invite you to go try a boulder problem and tuck your toe into a T-nut hole and see how much force you're able to generate. Big smile there from Johanna. And that leaves us with Natalia Grossman. So the finals, it goes pretty quick, especially when they're flashing boulders. We rock and roll pretty quickly here.
Very quick.
So another young American, 19 years old.
And I'll be interested to see if Natalia also goes with her right hand on this first move, because Brooke and Natalia generally do preview the boulders together as they're both teammates. So I wonder if that's something they discussed, or maybe when Brooke hopped on, she all of a sudden felt like, oh, maybe I want to go right hand, but I'll be interested to see.
They will discuss options too. You're like, I think we should go left, and if it doesn't work, maybe we go right, and you kind of wonder, which way they're gonna choose, because you still ultimately need to do what's right for your strengths and your body position and the way that you like to climb. And she's like, I'm gonna go right hand first. I'm gonna go left hand first.
Exactly.
You do that, I'll see you in the middle.
And it looks like she did go with her left foot up, left hand first. Gonna move into this cross section, which I don't think will pose any issues.
Nope.
Almost wanted to do an inside flag there, but kind of she looks like she started to and changed her mind.
Change her mind. Like, maybe I'll just use all the footholds. Yeah.
Now I would
top of the dual text.
Wow, that
gives
is
you
some
the height.
great footwork.
That is really good. I mean, it's insecure to stand on a dual text, but you see how much easier the last move was if you commit to that risk.
And you know what? That is something that so many of these athletes train all the time, because the dual textured holds and having that slippery surface is something they've gotten used to, and they're forced to stand on from time to time. So if you can trust your feet enough, it can be worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So after the first round, we're knotted up pretty good with 1, 2, and 3, Natalia, Brooke, and Johanna all flashing the first boulder, and then MIHO, ORIANE, and Jessica just extra attempts for MIHO and ORIANE, and Jessica failing to secure the top. So kind of behind right away, but still 3 boulders to go, and the styles change radically across the next 3 boulders.
And if you're at all confused as to why Natalia and Brooke are in different positions, Natalia is still ahead of Brooke because coming into this round, she had the higher standing. So since they're tied in this round right now, Natalia will be ahead of Brooke because of countbacks.
And we don't like to see countbacks brought into play. We like to see clear-cut podiums. However, it does reinforce how important it is. If you just sneak into semis, then you're running the risk of leaving yourself short if you end up tied in the final round.
So I was talking to the route setters a little bit earlier, and they mentioned that this boulder is hopefully one of the harder boulders of the round. So it'll be really cool to see how ORIANE attacks this one. And there's some cool movement in here that I'm really excited to see. Yeah,
really cool. And they were tweaking this one right down until the last possible minute. So this one's got some fine tuning in it.
She's set up to do this the right way, but she actually is doing not the intended beta. This can still work. It's just much harder having to come into that volume and use all of her biceps. They actually intend a really cool dynamic stand-up move, but I mean, she's extremely
She's making
strong.
it happen. Yeah, and sometimes you read that and think, I'm just going to try my way first, and then I'm going to move on. So interesting. Just managing this reach. So this was, we watched the root setters here. That's a wonderful flash from
A
ORIANE.
wonderful flash, and she climbed the boulder all of the ways they didn't intend.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I remember I actually asked, I was like, I wonder if they'll go from the zone straight left hand into that crimp just like she did and kind of go straight to the top. And that's exactly what she decided to do. And they were seeing a different orientation, but
Yeah, and they're using
beautiful climbing.
the women's footwork here are allowing them to climb around what the root setters had tried to force, which was to go up right hand first because you needed to be a little bit lower and the swing was going to be harder to control. But just being very, very precise and very, very strong is a great way to overcome that.
Exactly.
See what MIHO's got. She's also going to do the compression.
The way she set up, she could do either one, but it looks like she thought about it for
Just for half a second.
Nice.
Up high on that catch, too.
She has to be really careful here. There's that black tape. She can't get too close. I mean, she can go past it, but if she touches past it, it's too much. Wow, she is flying through this boulder.
Wow. She's going to
man.
come out and top the boulder in less than a minute. And you saw that reach. That's a really good look at how far it is to reach up left hand to, I assure you, is a very bad undercling crimp that's half as wide as the hold looks on your screen.
The women in this competition, though, have so much finger strength, and you're really seeing it play out on these first two boulders because those crimps might be hard for other people, but to them, it feels comfortable. And I mean, you're not even seeing so much strain coming from them. They're just kind of waltzing through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And although it is one of the harder things you can do is reach well above your head and kind of roll into an undercling, they're making it look rather pedestrian, which is, we are, I assure you, this is not the first time that we are going to sound a little bit, not surprised, but just impressed with what these finalists are going to pull out when you think, they can't do that, can they? And then somebody will do that.
There's something about competitions and adrenaline, and I mean, the World Cup circuit is something that everybody wants to be able to compete in, everybody wants to be on a podium at some point, so everyone's going to fight super hard to do their best on all these boulders.
They're trying to get a knee bar somewhere in there, which is very insecure, but she did. She was in it for a second and then looked like she thought, it's a bad idea.
I think it would be really beneficial if she can figure out this little leg kick stand-up beta because she's a little taller than both MIHO and ORIANE, and I think that they were in a better box to come into the volume and not be so stuck the way she was. So if she can figure that out, I think it might be easier for her to just do this swing and stand up, which sounds probably crazy right now.
Yeah.
But if she does it, you'll see how it kind of flows a little bit better.
Yeah, and you don't have to go super compressed to super tall to super compressed to so like you get to sort of move through much cleaner. But she is going to hold on.
And clearly they all talked about this because it's like
they're all
the
doing
go-to.
it.
Almost able to stick it, but
And a good example, the hold they're going to with their left hand, it's flat, flat, flat. And we're in an overhang, you know, we're about 10 degrees overhung there, and there's no real bite. So it's just a slap and compression instead of something that you can at least lean back on. There's nothing doing, which makes it really, really hard to
hold on there. Yeah, it only gets better when you get higher on it because you can kind of wrap your hand around it and create a better secure position on it, but it's kind of hard to reach all the way to the top and kind of land in the wrap.
Yeah. And you got to think that Jessica maybe is getting a bit on the, I mean, desperate's not the right word, but she knows that she's without a top, and she knows that ORIANE and MIHO and JOHANNA, you know that things have been topped.
You see she's on that better part of the zone hold now.
Yeah.
It's almost like a jug in that orientation. Again, choosing to go left hand first, which wasn't the intended data, but clearly working for the women.
Choosing to skip that vertical foothold altogether, which in forerunning was making that move very difficult, was trying to purchase on that small foothold next to the big yellow zone hold, and just sort of climbing past it, really, getting up on top of the yellow.
Well, it's a good thing she was able to make it happen. It kind of keeps her in the running now. She's still behind, but at least she has one top under her belt, because to be behind by 2 tops, then you really start to get scared.
Yeah, you start to think, oh my goodness, everyone's going to make mistakes and I'm going to crush it out of the park.
See what Johanna FÄRBER does. I have a feeling they're all going to just come in the way we've been seeing, just because I bet they all talked about it.
Yeah, and they know that they're like, I'm strong enough to compress this boulder.
And I mean, when I was looking at the boulder, it wasn't obvious to me at all that you maybe swing your leg and stand up. Somebody had to tell me that.
Yeah, and I looked at it too and went, oh, that's kind of a gnarly compression boulder. I like it. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's this foot swing thing that's supposed to be easier.
Yeah, I mean, every now and then, it just see her really kind of fighting through.
Oh, she kind of hit too low.
Hard to look. So you see just this, a quick recap here. Full bars are tops, half bars are zones. It tells you that with MIHO and ORIANE sitting at 2 tops each on the first 2 boulders. And then yet to climb is Brooke and Natalia.
Nice close-up of that volume. Especially from this angle, it almost seems crazy to think you could hold on to something like that. But when you're actually on another hold and being able to kind of compress between the 2, it actually feels better. But I always love seeing angles like that, because in your mind, even as a climber, you're like, how is anyone holding on to that?
Holding on to that. And it's always harder on your screen or on your laptop, whoever you're watching, to get that, to remember the angles of the, and it's not just the angle of the wall, the angle of the hold on the wall, and then you add the layer of where are the footholds, so where am I getting my opposition, where am I getting my control from, and this is, for all intents and purposes, on this wall, the steep section. So you're holding on to nothing but friction on 20 degrees overhanging, but I think that foothold is quite good.
Oh, she's gonna, well, she was gonna try to do a heel hook to do something different, which after a couple tries is a great idea to try to do something different, because otherwise you're gonna just keep trying that same thing.
Yeah, great look there, and you really just, sometimes it's just a bit of a prayer that's keeping you on. Like, I think I'm holding on to this. We'll see how long I stay here. No, a couple of quick shots. I think she was 3 tries very quickly. We're only down to a minute and 40. So I mean, worth taking a bit of a deep breath here.
For sure. Also, that's a lot of friction on the skin, and to have 2 more boulders after this, after already climbing in 2 separate rounds.
Yeah.
I always had a skin issue, so I'm always surprised people that people aren't bleeding at this moment.
And I think if you're new to competition climbing, you might be surprised that all the rounds are not on separate days. So you don't do qualifiers one day, semis one day, and finals the next. And it's just an adaptation that's been made to have semis and finals on the same day, and that actually it's conditioned for that very specifically. So they are feeling this morning.
Most definitely. And she's really not in the best position there. I feel like it would be a great time to try something different.
Even just kind of get a little higher and not have to see this sort of way she's rolling into her shoulder. That's hard to do once you've stuck it.
She just did look at her skin. She's like, oh, I can't keep doing this. It's like sandpaper.
I'm burning through. I'm getting see-through fingers.
And so now the playing field's leveled a little bit between Jessie and Johanna, both with 1 top.
So if you just joined us, we are just on the 2nd boulder of the women's final here in Salt Lake City. Brooke RABOUTOU coming out, following her with NATALIA GROSSMAN. So we're on boulder number 2 of 4 here in Salt Lake City on this beautiful outdoor venue. It is. It's really cool here, and it allows for a really big crowd. There are a lot of people here watching this World Cup and excited to have it in Salt Lake City.
It was really nice to see a crowd again since we haven't seen them in a while. Brooke already being very dynamic on this boulder, which would make me think maybe she will do the stand-up foot swing.
She kind of wound it up, but decisions.
Oh, she's going to come in.
She's like, you know what, I'm just strong.
Yeah. And her size should fit in the box, but a nice toe hook underneath
very clever.
that volume to get into the zone. And now the rest should be pretty easy for her.
With the campus
chalk up.
Okay.
Lots of T-nuts to choose from. To put her
Lots
foot
of
in.
options for Brooke, and she's
Oh,
going to
look,
take
there
one.
we go.
Oh my goodness.
Going left hand like most of the women have.
And that's hand-foot matches. And then just...
little flare there from Brooke RABOUTOU. A nice smile and another flash.
Another flash. You can see in the body language the moment they become comfortable enough to know that they can just do almost whatever they want. And that was that moment. She's like, I'm not even going to use the yellow hold. I'm just going to go bam. Little wind up, little swing, big smile.
It is always nice when you're going to a jug finish. Sometimes boulders have top holds that are terrible. So when you have a jug, you kind of have to take that opportunity because it doesn't happen very often.
And they made that worse sort of by a number of degrees while we were watching them tweak this boulder. They were like, let's make the last move harder and turned it probably 20 or 30 degrees to be, you know, a little slidier, but not for these women.
Not enough, though.
Not enough.
They're just too good.
Yeah, you didn't take in the Brooke factor.
See if Natalia can get a flash here as well. Follow suit of her teammate, Brooke RABOUTOU. Most likely going to come into this press here. Or, I guess, like meat hook is what we kind of call that. And moving into an undercling with her right hand.
Yeah, pinky on top first and then slowly move it around to enable yourself to stand up a little bit taller. And she's also going to take an extra minute here. The top of that hole, as you said, it's quite good when you get on it. But we're going to get a look at the intended beta.
The right hand, which now just forces you to have to go to this screw on at the top and then flip here. So it's extra movement.
Maybe more secure. The only person who knows is whether Brooke and Natalia talk about how easy they thought that boulder was. But that is a really, really confident flash from Natalia GROSSMAN. Wow.
I mean, I'm honestly a little stunned at how many flashes we just had on this boulder. It's going to make the next two boulders extremely important to be efficient on and make sure you can walk away with the top. But really nice climbing from Natalia GROSSMAN. And the other thing is, you know, coming out and knowing someone else just did the boulder so quickly just adds that extra bit of pressure. And so it's not just impressive the climbing here, but just the mental fortitude to be able to stay relaxed and not overthink what's happening and just execute.
Yeah, so Natalia and Brooke knotted up, 2 tops in 2 attempts, a couple of flashes. MIHO 1 attempt behind, tied with ORIANE at the same of 2-2 and 3. And then Jessica still in the hunt. Johanna still in the hunt, but getting farther away as we run out of boulders.
But we still don't know how they're going to do on the next one, so it's anybody's game still.
Right? We know that style matters, but when you have a couple of climbers who are climbing everything so well, it feels like a done deal. You feel, I don't see a scenario in which, you know, these women don't come out and crush these last 2 boulders. But stranger things have happened, and it's always worth watching. That's why they make them come up and climb instead of just sort of think, I think I would have sent all 4. Can I take the win home?
Exactly. They have to prove it first.
Yeah.
On the other side, though, they have already seen what's coming next, so at least they have an idea of whether the next boulder might suit them. I mean, obviously, from the ground, you can't always tell if a boulder is going to suit you, but you have an idea of if it's something that you might like or is more in your style.
In your style, yeah. Like is sometimes a strong word.
Something
you can handle. I don't like the boulder, but I can handle it.
I like the term handle, yeah. Oftentimes, you can climb a boulder in a competition and the whole way think, oh my gosh, I hate this. I just need to finish it so that I don't have to start it over again.
And I had a chat with Fanny Joubert yesterday, and I said, what did you think of the angles? She said, oh, you know, I'm very good at slab. I like slab, but I'm very good at steep. I like steep too. And I think that's most of these climbers will come and tell you, yeah, I mean, I can absolutely absolutely climb low angle, and I absolutely can climb steep angles. And it just, you just manage. You deal with what you're presented with as soon as you walk out. You're like, yep, I'm going to, you know, squeeze and swing, or I'm going to be delicate and be on my feet. And this comp has been, I'm going to be on my feet. And I'm actually we were back-to-back. So this is back-to-back comps. We're back in Salt Lake City next weekend. We're adding speed into the mix as well. But back-to-back bouldering events, most of the athletes are going to be here for both. So the route setters are going to be maybe switching up some of their style. Like, we can't sort of feed them harder versions of the same thing. So we're going to see how deep that route setting team, led by Jamie Cassidy, can dig into their holds and ideas, because they are going to have to do the same thing, separate these really, really strong athletes. And they're learning. They're learning right now.
There will be more athletes coming next week as well, or next weekend. So there's just going to be more stronger athletes. We're going to have a bigger field for the most part.
The route setters take notes through every round. They watch the qualifiers, they watch the semifinal very carefully, and they start to look at who they're setting for. And they'll be watching this final very carefully, because it's going to help them deal with their final next weekend. And like, okay, so the women are absolutely shredding boulders. We are going to turn it up a notch. So we watched what was the hardest boulder in Boulder 3 get pretty well demolished.
So one thing to note is ORIANE has already put her chalk bag on this boulder, and I was already going to talk about how this one is a lot more slow than the other slab climb they have already had. They could kind of move through that one quickly, whereas slow and steady is kind of the name of the game here. So a smart move to put that chalk bag on right away. Really nice foot switch there.
Very well controlled. And you see the black tape on the side of your screen, so they cannot reach around the arete. Just at the very, very bottom edge, you see her getting established, but they do not want the climbers to use this arete. And that just helps them set in the plane they're looking for. You have to manage the wall, but you want to set a boulder without an arete hug. You just tell them you cannot. And everybody's well versed in black tape.
Yes, or at least they should be.
They should be by now. A good flash to zone.
And it looks like that's where it gets a little spicy. Kind of had that bottom difficult or cruxy section where she had to do that quick foot switch, which I really like when you have movement that is coupled with two very different speeds. So she had to move slow to get over to the handhold, but then quickly switch her feet to get onto the volume. And so it kind of requires more awareness just of everything that's happening, and just shows how well-rounded and how amazing the skill sets
and
are.
how in the moment they are. You know, they're very, very good at adapting. It's almost, you know, when you're on the boulder, sometimes your plan goes out the window. So you have to adapt and say, this hold is not as good as I thought it was. I better move my feet really quickly. And it's impressive to see what could be. It's hard to tell, but this could be something that someone is trying outside of the box, where they were originally had another idea, and this has forced them into do something very, very clever. But as you say, this boulder is neat because it's very careful, and then the top is very powerful. So you have multiple styles folded into this just under vertical slab climb.
Which is definitely perfect considering what's been happening in this round. Like, this is where attempts are going to be lost, because even though she just stuck that move perfectly before, this time when she switched her foot, she hit that slippery side of the dual textured hold, so she just wasn't able to execute as well as the previous attempt.
And when you get into precarious boulders where the mistake margin is very, very small, you now start to see people who've done a move once before have a tiny, tiny, tiny mistake, and it could be even something subtle that we don't see, where your hips are sitting, and then you get a slip like that, which puts you in a bit of a desperation mode.
Really nicely done there.
Great to come back after that slip and solidly make that move. Just a little help.
Nice high step. So much flexibility from all of these women. Definitely with how gymnastic climbing has become, flexibility is so key. We see it from not just the women, but the men.
Absolutely.
She needs to figure out how to get enough power, but not too much power. It's again that in-between kind of Goldilocks syndrome of
yes,
just
I like
right.
that. Just right. And you saw her, she went quite dynamically the first time. She slowed it way down the second time, but kind of ran out of pull. Just didn't quite get there. So that was the first attempt where she went pretty pop in her style. And then here she started to start going a lot slower. And then just, not enough height.
And it was interesting to see how just even holding on to those holds just for a little longer made it so much harder because she started to kind of slip and pull away from the wall.
Yeah, there will be holds in which the extra 5 seconds start to take their toll on your elbow, your wrist, your forearm. You feel that lactic acid come barreling in a hurry. Don't think that climbers don't get pumped on boulder problems.
Definitely
they've been squeezing a lot, and it matters. And we talk about, especially boulders with a lot of core control, they're very fatiguing. It affects your breathing, it affects your ability to kind of relax and move smoothly. So she looks like she's going to do something a little bit dramatic here.
She kind of, wow, that would be really cool. She kind of started in a different orientation, and she was using that sidewall, and it sets her up to kind of have to go quickly through this lower section. And I was curious to see if anyone was going to try to go fast, though it seems like going slow is probably the better decision.
Yeah.
But it looks like she's going to start it the same way.
Same again, and maybe a bit of a trap, right? The sidewall is very appealing.
It could work, though.
And the same thing, but at half speed. It's
Yeah,
like,
no, a little different. Instead of throwing her foot to the volume this time, she tried to match on that lower foothold, but didn't create enough opposition for her to be able to hold it. And the root setters were saying that that handhold they're going to, that big red volume, is a lot worse than it looks in that position. So you really kind of need some opposition to be able to hold on.
This is sort of my favorite attempt is the third attempt after 2 different tries. Because you get a real sense of, I did A, I did B, what are you going to go back to? You're going back to A, you're going back to B, you're going to go to C. You don't often see 3 schools of thought on a boulder in 4 minutes. That's a big trap you can get into, is the desperation, try something different every time. But here we get MIHO deciding that the slightly slower dynamic hop is going to be the way to go. And she's just, see that left leg, she's trying to control all of that barn door, that sort of swing on 2 points, as we call it, picture a big barn door. And she's trying to control it just with her left toe. And that's a lot to ask of your core.
Oh, so close. I really just want her to try to go slow and static and just lean her foot over. I think because oftentimes there are so many parkour type movements on slabs and vertical angles, you can sometimes get stuck in this idea that it's always fast and forget that you can go slow sometimes.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's exactly what's happening here, because she hasn't tried one time to just lean over like we saw ORIANE do. And I feel like if she did that, she'd have no problem getting to the zone.
It's a trap.
She's kind of caught in a trap.
Caught in a trap, and it is a very good point where you think to yourself, well, this is going to be that boulder where I have to do a handless run across a couple of volumes instead of just approaching it with how would I simply climb this boulder?
I mean, yeah, instead of being like, oh, that foot is huge, let me stand on it and then place my other foot to the right and kind of rock over. But I mean, if she sticks it, her very first attempt was, oh, here we go. Now she's thinking about it.
But 30 seconds is going to be, she's got to get off the sidewall.
So much better, but it's because she keeps going to the sidewall to start. If she would just not use the sidewall, she wouldn't be stuck in that trap.
This boulder is going to put a shake up into at least the middle.
Now she's in a much
better position.
Now, she doesn't have time to finish probably, but if she can at least get to the zone, it will keep her in the running.
Yep, and the zone is, it's right there, but 5 seconds is not very long.
When she actually didn't use that lower part of the arete at all, like we saw ORIANE do, most likely due to the fact that she was pressed for time.
And really had to move much quicker than she would have wanted to. Oh,
she's talking to the judges about something, kind of unsure what exactly is happening. Having some sort of conversation.
Could be something to do with maybe, attempts? I'm not sure. She doesn't, she's smiling but doesn't look happy.
Yeah, she's smiling, but most likely also very annoyed that she didn't figure out that beta ahead of time.
Yeah, she was a bit bemused, or she could have been talking over, but it would be rare to risk talking to a coach you know, it's forbidden. You can't get any
Yeah.
help. So, you know, having a half conversation with someone that you may be connected to your federation is a risk not willing to take. So we have to assume she was having a conversation with the judge.
Jessie PILZ stepping on to the boulder in what seems to be the intended beta.
Yeah.
And actually, it is the intended beta. What am I saying? I talked to the root setters.
Yeah, and this will be the kind of thing you come back if you come back and watch the footage, as they often do. They get filmed on their attempts. You kind of kick yourself, going, "It was right there the whole time."
And that's what we were talking about if you were tuning in earlier to the semifinals. It's not just about physical strength here. It's about mental fortitude and serious problem solving. And if you don't problem solve efficiently, it doesn't matter who you are, you can end up completely messing up on a boulder because you just were reading it wrong.
Yeah, you can climb into unreversible situations that you think you can power your way out of and not, or you can get into situations where you're so flustered with, I don't know what to do here, and you kind of in your mind you throw your hands up and go, I guess I'll just try a bunch of random things and see what sticks. And it happens even to the most seasoned competitor. MIHO NONAKA is one of the longest standing competitors on the circuit right now. 20 podiums over 40 events. She knows what to do to top boulders, and you saw her just look out of her element on this one.
Nice stick by Jessie PILZ.
Yeah.
And
I like that approach.
I like that one too, and it's cool that this section of the boulder can be done a couple different ways. Now she's also not using that lower section of the rep, but she was able to flip her left hand into the best part of that volume so that she was able to press up enough to get into the zone hole.
And move very, very confidently in it. Just as I say that, in so much control. I was just going to say, she's displaying so much control over the start of that boulder, just to be let down by, I think, maybe a little bit relaxed in the left foot, and just starts to slide down that volume-sized hold, and you're in trouble when that happens.
Yeah, but she has plenty of time and has a really good method. So if she just goes with exactly what she did, she can be a little more efficient and cognizant of her foot placement.
And you see here, just when you're looking at the results, with a top here, you'll see Jessica move ahead of MIHO because of her establishment of that zone. So if she gets a top, it's 2 tops and 1 extra zone, and that's when it starts to matter whether you're sticking zones. And if MIHO sticking this zone would have been, you know, could become a turning point as we look to the last boulder.
Yeah, things just got a little more exciting in this final.
As I mean, the book is written, everybody's flashing all the boulders, and then here we are, and they are working very hard.
And you see she has her fingers taped up as well, which makes the friction a lot less sticky when you're climbing on holds like this specifically, so you're going to have to squeeze even harder to stay on. Looks like she's going to choose to be done.
She's going to walk away with a minute, and maybe that's a skin decision. Maybe it's wow, if I try this again, I'm not going to get any farther. I'm happy with my zone. I'm going to move on.
She does have to move kind of slow on this one, and so 40-ish seconds left would be pretty close, and she does have one more boulder, which she's seen, that looks like a very powerful boulder, so I think it's a really good decision to actually walk away at that time.
Johanna FÄRBER could really shuffle things here with a top.
And it's an interesting boulder because ahead of time I would have thought, oh, maybe this specific person would do something on it, but now I've already been completely shuffled and thought. So like honestly, I have no idea because it's whether or not you read it right, and but like a very, very immensely important to read it right on this one.
Yeah, and we start to throw the predictions out the window when you have a boulder that has options and insecurity and easy slips where people look like they're climbing towards the top, and then in a half a second you're on the mat before you even know what happens sometimes.
And that's not to say that they can't all do it. I think they can all do this boulder. It's just, can you figure out this tricky beta and insecure body positions in 4 minutes?
And this sort of the reach all the way across.
Very nice.
Very nice. Almost managed, and yet kind of another version of that is both hands bringing that left hand over really messes with your kind of hip angle, but
Kinda
it
makes
feels
you-
secure to
yeah.
get 2 hands on there, but it really changes how far away from the wall you are.
Yeah, it creates that barn door feeling. So just imagine a barn door swinging. That is what it would look like and feel like. Man, even establishing here is awkward, and that makes sense why MIHO kept going to the sidewall, because then you're in a better position, but then you're not in the right position to continue in the boulder.
And it's if you sort of start a boulder going the wrong way because it allows you to start the boulder, but doesn't allow you to continue the boulder,
You're trapped.
feels like a good idea at the time and turns into a pretty significant trap. But back in control here, a little more careful. See that concentration on her face.
Still going with the left hand though, see if she can just hold it better this time. Nice.
Yes,
And
great
look
control.
at that. That little release is what gave her the counterbalance to actually stay on the hold that time.
Yeah, absolutely. Very subtle, but very important. And you see this perch. This is all about that 1 foot confidence. So work on your 1-leg step-ups.
Pistol squats.
When you go back, get your pistol squats going. You never know when it's going to be the most important thing. Let's see what Johanna has here.
Seeming to be the most difficult move on this boulder. Kind of that tricky speed aspect of getting high enough and fast enough to get to that pinch, but not too high or too fast.
She was on it, but low, I think.
Very low, and her hips were falling out that whole time she was coming up to it. She just kind of starts to fall out and really trying to search for any way to like scum up the wall as she's dragging her foot on the wall, and just those hips start to go, and there's just no way.
And the left hand is not keeping you on. If you start to swing out, you're not going to recover with that left hand. It's really, really bad. It's good on the angle you're starting at, but as soon as you climb past it, it becomes a bit of an afterthought. And it's not going to be good enough to keep you from missing and recovering. This is going to be it. 21 seconds to go. I mean, she must think that she's got a legitimate crack at the top.
And she probably feels good enough to keep going as well. Ooh, just a little too fast there. Not going to make it happen, but really great climbing, great adaptability, specifically from Johanna FÄRBER. I really love the 1 foot switch where she took her hand off for just a second. That was a really nice moment.
Yeah, and it looks like it's a moment of I'm falling, but it's actually by design to just make those subtle adjustments to how you're moving on the wall. I like this too, that just a little comfortable palm.
Just rushed it a little bit. The palm wasn't in the right place, whereas the time she tried before, it was in a much better position. But rushing it made it kind of slip out of that hold.
Brooke RABOUTOU.
Smart. Taking a second to brush the shoe rubber off those footholds specifically. You notice she didn't even think about the handholds.
No, didn't even
She's
look
like,
at them.
Oh, this is all on my feet. Let me take a second to brush.
Just trying to find friction wherever it might be hiding.
You can tell just by the way she was looking at the foothold to the right that she was going to be doing this slower method and not even think about trying to go fast here.
Yeah, and she's got this just about spanned.
Nice thumb against the outside of the volume. She might have to pop to it a little because she is a little shorter. Very nicely done.
Great coordination. That foot switch is not easy.
Not at all, especially coming from that position she was in. She didn't even have her hand on the good part of the volume. Nicely into the bonus.
So are we going to see somebody stick this pinch? That is the question. Brooke might answer for us.
It's hard to tell even how bad or good the pinch is because we haven't seen anyone get enough purchase on it.
Yep.
So I don't even know if you did jump and just squeeze so hard if it would work or not.
She looked like she got over the top of it, but was
too shallow.
Too shallow and on her way down almost by the time she got up there. She wasn't up and confidently making that stick. But a really good first burn on this boulder.
Great first attempt. I mean, even just a flash to the zone is very important on this boulder specifically because it hasn't seen a top yet. So getting that flash to the zone, I mean, she was higher than we've seen anybody else get. I honestly wonder if you could throw the right foot up into the zone as you catch the pinch.
Maybe.
It would give you more stability. I mean, it would be a crazy,
It'd be very hard.
crazy coordination move, and definitely not what they intended, but it could happen.
So now she's hunting tops, getting that, as you said, the flash to zone takes a bit of the pressure off. We saw a lot of the women falling in their first couple of attempts to get to the zone. So it's going to be a little bit of confidence. And she probably knows it hasn't been topped.
Yeah. Oh, nice stick there by Brooke Rabatou. Able to even keep her feet on into that finish hold, and a top for Brooke Rabatou.
And she didn't reset, and sometimes she might not have it perfect, but it had good enough to make the move to the finish, and she knows the finish hold is good.
Yeah, and that tension there that she had once she stuck the pinch, like pulling in with the toe so well, and always, again, nice to go to a good finish hold.
Yeah.
I think everyone's probably seen that hold in a gym before. You see that right foot really squeezes and moves up with her. So kind of like what I was thinking. She didn't move her foot all the way up to the zone, but she did hop it up enough to where she got a better position on that foothold to where she could actually use it, and it could help her stay on the pinch. Really great climbing there.
Yeah, really, really great. And she's making a statement with her climbing across these rounds. That is just an excellent top.
I mean, 2 tries after we've watched most people fall to the zone only. So now the pressure is actually a lot more intense here for Natalia Grossman on this one, because like you were saying before, the other women were taking much more time out here. And so for Brooke to come back quickly
and
means
cheer
that
of
things,
the crowd.
Things happened a lot faster
Things
and were
went
more
well.
successful for her.
So just ratchet up the pressure a little bit, and we'll see if Natalia can respond. Everything she's done so far in this comp has shown that she will.
Oh, unable to save it there, and things just got more interesting here.
Yes, they did.
Now, she was in a different body position. So we've seen a few of the women grab that right hand and then try to use the left hand, but on the other side, whereas she was kind of trying to come back into the outside rim of that hold, which you can kind of press against and cramp, and that's what she's doing right now. But it's almost better if you're gonna go to be on the other side of it, or to let go and just move your feet.
But both hands in the scoop just sort of sets you up wrong,
Nicely
and
done.
that's much, much better. A really good adjustment from the first try. She didn't sort of give it 100%. I think on the first try she was a bit shy for that foot stab.
I think the pressure a little bit. It looked like she was trying to be overly cautious, and that kept her from like settling into the actual body positions and the proper movement. See if she can get to that pinch properly on the first go. Oh. That was it though. I mean, she was doing the right thing. She was in the right body position, also squeezing with that lower foot. So just needs to get a little more purchase on the pinch.
A small adjustment, maybe a little bit higher on that foot, maybe a little more squeeze, and as you say, a little bit higher on that pinch. And she's wasting no time to jump back up on this boulder. She's that either comes from confidence, or I mean, you can get a little ahead of yourself when the adrenaline's flowing. You think, I was really close, I can do it this time. And in your head, you've taken 10 or 15 seconds, but you really haven't.
It's been 5, actually. But this is a boulder that you could do more times and quicker, because it's not super strenuous. It's just very technical. So if you are going to go back-to-back on a boulder, this would be the one to do it.
This is a good choice. And you see a little bit of an adjustment with her right foot, maybe an inch or two.
And she was able to squeeze with her left foot on the other side, too, to keep it together. Really nice top there from Natalia Grossman. And, man, I mean, at this point, both Brooke and Natalia are kind of...
You're running away with it at this point.
I mean, it's not over, because there's another boulder, and ORIANE is right on their heels. So...
But really good adjustments in between those first tries to get up into that pinch, and very confidently the next time. So we are looking at Brooke Rabaoutou with 3, 3, and 4 attempts. Natalia Grossman 1 attempt behind, 3, 3, and 5. And then we have ORIANE, as you say, right behind them at 2 and 3. And then MIHO within striking distance of 3rd place, for sure. ORIANE and MIHO could be fighting for the 3rd place spot here with maybe a flash from MIHO, and if ORIANE doesn't get to a top, then we're going to have a bit of a swap. But there's still work to be done on the last boulder. We are just joining us. We're in Salt Lake City. This is the women's final, second stop on the 2021 IFSC Boulder circuit. And we are getting now into the fourth boulder. So, 6 climbers, 1 boulder left to go. ORIANE coming out here must know she needs a top here to stay in the fight.
And this is a stark contrast to the last boulder problem we saw, because this boulder is super powerful. It's going to start with a huge jump, which will be very exciting. And I think it's kind of nice to go from a slower boulder into a more powerful and a quicker boulder. Oh, that was really interesting. She stepped up into that volume to then be able to kind of jump off of 2 feet instead of just right foot on that black volume she's brushing and then on that lower red hold that she's brushing now, which is what they intended. But I really liked that. I always think you have more power when you jump off of 2 feet. Like, as a shorter person, I feel like I'm always trying to get 2 feet on before I jump. So that was extremely clever.
Technically a little bit more difficult, but if you get it right, the payoff is wonderful. And it's far. This is not a small dyno.
Big jump. It's a really big jump.
You'll see when she's in the space between the holds, how far. Oh!
Wow. That's serious control. Oh no.
That is remarkable.
Was so awesome.
ORIANE Bertone stalling, and then just losing focus as she was winding up, still needing to jump there. Really cool move.
You can see that angle kind of is pushing her back, because that's where the angle changes a little bit, so you can lose your balance pretty quickly there, and she just lost it at the last second.
Well, she was staring at it. And this again, you'll see, we'll probably see quite a few attempts as the fourth boulder. There's nothing to save it for. So this is empty the tank time. Go and get yourself a top. So we're going to see the most number of attempts per minute is going to be on this. And as you said earlier, on when you're only missing the first move, you're not expending a ton of energy. It's just going to change.
Really nicely done. A faster approach by just bringing that foot in and going right away.
Good adaptation. She's going to go, she's going to sort of not choose the heel hook and choose to press down underneath. Wow. This is a bit insecure at the top.
Oh, nice save. I figured she would just step in, but really nicely done by ORIANE Bertone, and moving her back up into the lead after that boulder. That was extremely fun to watch. I loved how many different variations she tried. It's always fun to see an athlete be so creative. And I mean, she almost lost it at the top. That was great.
Yeah.
That was a really great recovery.
The angles on that volume that her right foot is on, it's not perfect. You're not sinking a heel hook and just trusting it. There's a lot of sliding that can go on there. And she's just that little left foot on that red hold, critical, I think, to the control she showed at the top.
And that little foot has this tiniest bit of friction on it. The rest of it is that slippery part. So that was a lot of trust on that foot as well.
It was a lot of trust.
MIHO's going to do what looks like to be the intended beta of just jumping off that one foot. It's kind of interesting. She had a little slip before she even got to explode off of the foot.
And if she wants to be, I actually think that based on zones, that ORIANE with that quick send might have wrapped it up over MIHO, but see what she does here.
Yeah, because MIHO didn't get the zone.
On
barring
3.
any appeals, I don't, because she was having that conversation, I have no idea what was going on with that, but as it stands, she doesn't have that zone. Very nice. Oh. So we are seeing now that that jump is so much bigger if you don't step that foot in the way ORIANE did, and that was pretty ingenious of her to figure that beta out.
And it sent her a little more straight up the boulder instead of in this, when you're sort of winding up left to right, you end up traveling quite a lot. And as you drive across this big black volume, the hold gets worse and worse. So the more
There she
amazing, amazing show of strength there, controlling that swing with one hand.
Similarly to how she was on the very first boulder of the final.
Yes.
Nicely gonna inch her way up into the top hold and stepping up as they
Just to
intended.
be sure, just to be sure, get that
Nice
left hold
top.
up.
It's not gonna get her onto the, well, yeah, no, it's not gonna get her onto the podium, but
It's a
still
great
a great
finish.
finish for MIHO NONAKA.
Yeah, you want to leave the mat after your last boulder feeling like you put everything into that last couple of tries, and she really, really great stick. That's
was awesome.
a big swing.
She is very good at catching that completely horizontal swing, such strong shoulders and fingers. And she did have a shoulder injury a few years back. I can't remember which shoulder it was on, but she is absolutely so strong when it comes to those kind of movements.
Jessica PILZ climbing for pride at this point. There's no podium in her future, but as we said, you want to know that you came off the last boulder putting everything you have into it.
And every Bouldering World Cup finish just adds to your rank overall anyway, and that's what these athletes are also focusing on. Though I will say, since the Olympics are this year, some of these athletes, and Jessie PILZ is one of them who is qualified for the Olympics, is probably less concerned about standings on the circuit this year because she has to focus on the Olympics.
Yeah, and it's the timing that goes into your training, and where does this comp fit into the profile, and is it, what is it giving you in terms of that step towards the Olympic event? She'll be one of the climbers we see next week doing speed for the same reason, is that you want to get as many speed comps as you can. And this will be the first speed event held in North America on the World Cup circuit next weekend. So I invite you to come back and hang out with us next weekend. You'll see some wonderful speed climbing from a good portion of these athletes. Jessica PILZ winding up. She's not getting the spring. Yeah, she's a little bit closer, but she's not getting that push to get high enough to really get over the top and hang on to that crimp. It's a hard adjustment to make because you just have to put more risk into the effort, and the more you swing and the harder you push, the more you run the risk of missing the foothold.
Yeah, and MIHO was doing it this way as well, but I almost wonder if just starting like she's about to try right now would actually give you more, well, she decided not to, but I wonder if you just started in that and then sunk down a little, if that actually would give you a little more power. Perhaps not, but I'd be interested to see. I
would as well, and a little bit of a swing just from the leg that's trailing can help you generate momentum on a boulder like this when you don't want to. So that first swing, and you see that she knows in the air that she's traveling too far out from the wall. So it's really important that you get going up. Even if you've got the right height, if you're traveling too far away from the wall, I mean, unless you've got the longest arms I've ever seen.
If I pull a Michael Jordan moment or something.
Exactly. So it's this is a subtle movement that now we get to see after having seen ORIANE and MIHO really make it look like a strong movement. You're seeing Jessica just traveling, a half a foot too far north-south instead of...
And I feel like these kind of movements are something that she's gotten better at over the years, especially like compared to like a few years ago. I feel like this boulder would have been a lot harder for her, and she wouldn't even have been that close. So it's cool to see the progression over the years when athletes focus on, some of the parts of their skill set that could be improved upon. So
absolutely, yeah. You have to go in and look at what's missing or what you can dial up. And the last two tries getting closer for sure. So she is making adjustments, and she is going to run it down to the last attempt. So much respect for trying as hard as she can as the clock winds down.
That was so much more power that time.
20 seconds? Yeah, we're going to get one more. Why not?
Gotta go to the end. And I mean, in reality, the zone would be big in general, right? You always want to get the zone if you can't get the top. But looks like she's going to be out of time, not out of town.
No, she's not going to be out of town.
She's staying in town until next week.
Yeah, don't worry, she's not going anywhere.
Little look at the athletes over at the Kiss and Cry over there. Just get a little replay of Jessie's attempt where she kind of pulled back a little because she knew she wasn't in the right position and her hips were too far out from the wall.
And it's interesting to watch that she puts her foot down for that muscle memory and then backs up and puts the swing in. So this is where you remember, it's this far away, it's this angle. It's very hard to do dynamic moves when you need to look at your foot just for a second, and then you need to be looking where you're going, or you're not going to travel where you think you are. So this is, it's a complex movement.
Very complex and very learned. Like over time, it'll get better and better.
Johanna with a little, I love that sort of half hesitation, and she
Yeah.
got a little second push, and even that hand on the wall, she's understanding where the angles are. So, you know, learning this movement in 4 minutes or less. It's a hallmark of the top finalists. Yeah, really nice.
It's interesting. She's just bringing that foot through, but not actually placing it on the volume. It's kind of just scumming against the wall a little, but it's giving her that extra bit of power.
I wonder if she will try and plant it.
I was just thinking the same thing, because then she's taller than ORIANE, so I think she'd be at that zone hold pretty easily if she throws that other foot on. But nope. And that time she actually had a little too much push off the wall, and it pushed her out away from the wall. So it was a little harder to get any kind of purchase.
Yeah,
on
a little
the
too
zone.
much punch. She's going to wind up again, make maybe a small adjustment. Oh, the step through is so interesting.
It is, but it is really pushing her away. Like, if she's going to do that, she's going to probably have to bring that left hand on as well to be able to actually hold on a little bit better. Because that's a lot of swing with that little push.
Yeah, when she gets to, if she sticks that hold, she's going to be taking all of this with her. And I do find it interesting when she's definitely only thinking about sticking it right hand and dangling around until she can recover. She's not thinking about bringing the left up right away.
It is really funny because there are certain athletes who that will be their go-to to catch one-handed. I never felt that way. I always, if I was jumping to something, two hands.
How many limbs can I get on this hold?
Two hands are better than one.
Yeah, I agree. That's an excellent way to think about it.
I really just want her to place her foot on the volume instead of using the wall, because I think she would just be set up so much better to stick it.
Yeah, I agree with you. A minute and change.
Oh,
Ooh.
a lot closer. She is also, like you said before, she's kind of using her hand to slow her down a little too, which actually, I guess she could do that, right? She could stick the zone and palm the wall as opposed to actually coming in with the left hand to the zone hold.
Sort of creating friction along the way.
And opposition.
And opposition. Oh, it's
so far out
so
that time.
far. It's I appreciate how hard it is to spend 4 minutes in front of a crowd of this size not doing a move.
Yeah. That feeling makes you want to crawl under a rock sometimes, right? But she's doing it beautifully, and she's getting closer and closer. So hopefully she figures it out. Almost brought that left hand in that time.
Just trailing it. I mean, she's a little bit of a smile. She's got that look of wait a minute, like, I can do this.
Light bulb.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's always so great to see the athletes enjoying themselves, and this is a kind of move that is super fun, and you can keep going.
And then the clock is going to run down on her.
Looks like she's going to be done for the night, but great climbing by Johanna FÄRBER. Nice to see her in a final again, her second final in her World Cup circuit career. So she has to be really happy with this weekend.
Coming away with a smile, you know, it's a wry smile sometimes. You always want to get one extra top. A couple good looks at her technique here, and that was the trailing left hand that got closest. And it tends to inflate your number of attempts. You know, when you stick a zone after that, you're like, oh, it took me 27 tries to get to a zone. And Brooke RABOUTOU, second last women's finalist here in Salt Lake City.
Be curious to see if she does more of what ORIANE did by bringing that other foot up. Oh, interesting. She kind of stalled on it a little bit.
So these attempts are going to have consequence for her and Natalia for the top step on the podium. This is get your pen out and start ticking off boxes.
And all they really need to do is get the zone up, very similar to what ORIANE did earlier, trying to jump just from that stable position with 2 feet. Oh, and even moving her right foot up higher on the volume just to get a little more height and get closer to it.
As you're standing vertical.
Oh, so close.
Springy. That was excellent. I wonder if she got close enough that I think we might see that
Another time at least.
another time.
But in reality, she'd be better off if she tried to do that more of a dynamic swing through with the foot and bring that other foot up and jump off of it.
I suspect you're right. She's now committed to this cause.
And that's the tricky thing about success on moves in a competition sometimes, because it feels like, oh, this could be it, but like there could still be an easier way to do it. So you don't want to get too sucked into one way. But
you got a good look there at that volume that they're jumping off. There's no holds on it. It does have friction, but just as she was winding up, her left foot just completely gave out. So it is an insecure spot to stop and jump off of, generating all your momentum from a standstill. There's only so much friction you can apply between your shoes in this tiny little triangle. The angles are funny. She's right on the tip, which helps.
it also makes it harder to jump off. Almost able to get up there.
So I almost guarantee you in the back of her mind, she's thinking about Natalia
100%.
and this move coming up. She knows the implications of sticking holds here.
Well, and when you have teammates out there too, it's like you both know each other's skill set a little more than even your fellow competitors that you don't see all the time. So it makes it a little bit more in your mind as you're attempting.
Yeah, but you spend so much time training with them that you know what they're good at, you know what their tendencies are, and it makes you think just maybe a little bit too much. And this is also interesting for ORIANE.
Yeah.
So ORIANE with 3 and a zone is sitting on top of the leaderboard right now, as you can see on the bottom left of your screen. This zone is becoming critical.
Oh, not able to get up high enough. As the clock comes down a bit more, I could see her possibly trying to go faster and bringing that foot in.
Maybe desperation will be the mother of invention here, and make her just move quickly overall. 30 seconds. Thought we were going to see it there. I thought we were going to see it.
Close. It was super close, but it looks like she's going to stick with what feels right. Oh, just not able to get high enough. And, you know, trying to jump that many times, she's getting more and more
tired
fatigued.
for
And it's
sure.
a big jump.
It is a very big jump. This might be the last one. 15 seconds. Brooke RABOUTOU to stay in contention.
Oh, very close. Not able to make it happen, but amazing climbing from Brooke RABOUTOU. Oh, well, I'm just kidding. She's still going.
Just kidding,
now
one
she's going to
more.
throw it. Nope, just kidding again. To the very end.
To the bitter end. Great sportsmanship from Brooke RABOUTOU.
Awesome climbing.
You heard the crowd cheer, and she just popped back up on the mat to give it that last
I thought
try.
she was done. I was calling it for her, but nope. That's how it should always be, right? All the way to the bitter end.
Yeah, look at the focus there. Just staring, and that's about as
She
close
was
as she
so
got.
close on that attempt. If she could have gotten her hand just a little higher to get onto the zone hold, she would have been able to hold that.
Yeah, the extra height makes a big difference when you're coming through that dead point. If you're already traveling down instead of that half second where you hover and you're just high enough to get control. That when you're looking for dynamic movement, there is a criticality to when you're grabbing that hold, and just fractions too low.
Natalia right out of the gate with
The
that
1-2.
method of the 1-2 on that volume, which seems to be the best for the smaller climbers. Natalia is similar in height to ORIANE, a little bit taller than Brooke. I only know heights in feet and inches, so I can't do that math.
Don't do that math.
Sorry, everybody. It's not my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So keep an eye on the number of attempts to zone here. This is what's going to decide who takes the top spot on this podium. She's got a couple to give, but not very many.
Oh, very close. You can hear the crowd going wild. They hometown cheering.
So I think that's 3 attempts to zone. It's going to have to be this time, I think.
Getting some love from the crowd.
Really got to dig deep here.
I mean, if she's able to get it top, she will walk away with the win.
Good point.
No matter what. She already has 3 boulders, but
the crowd's into it now. They see it coming down with 2 minutes left in the women's final.
oh, kind of rushed it there and just kind of ran into the wall.
A little less of a smile. She's feeling the need for this boulder right here. Time to collect yourself. It can be very tempting to just jump back on and jump back on and jump back on, but you need to settle.
Especially on moves like this where it is powerful and explosive and it takes 2 seconds and feels like it's not taking any energy. She keeps rushing it.
Just a little bit. And rushing it from the start to the jump. You know, it's the... You can be just a shade more careful right here.
Oh, a little bit better on the placement on the feet, but still not finding the proper body position to kind of have the right trajectory to the zone hold.
This is, I'm on the edge of my seat a little bit here because if she sticks that zone, the top is well within striking distance.
Oh.
And now that's what she needs. A minute and change to go. Natalia Grossman with her podium position in her hands.
A little slip.
Feet at this point.
Yeah, really, it's not. It's more so in the feet and the legs at this point.
And you know that ORIANE, you know that ORIANE is sitting in the chairs watching. I mean, she's obviously hoping for success for one of her competitors.
There we go.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, the crowd goes wild. Now she shouldn't rush it because, oh actually she's fine, honestly. That zone, even though it took her 10 attempts to get to the zone, doesn't matter, she will still win this competition. And she's gonna walk away with the top.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Look at that, Natalia Grossman throwing it down here in Salt Lake City and taking home top spot in the second Boulder event of the year. An unbelievable performance, really dug deep. 4 tops in the semifinal, 4 tops in the final. Natalia Grossman has shown up.
And 2 weekends in a row on the podium. I mean, a great start to this World Cup circuit for her this season. And, you know, she is not one of the Olympic qualified athletes, so the circuit is actually really important for her this year. So really exciting to see her execute so well.
So well, 19 years old, so much composure. So much composure. So we are going to get an interview with Natalia Grossman. Megan's going to go over and get that sorted out. And we're just going to have a good look at the smile. You can see how happy she is on that stick. And there it is. Really, really good stuff. I don't know that you can really accurately convey what that emotion is. But you see, just being so careful here. So ORIANE BERTONE taking second spot. So Americans going 1-3, and ORIANE BERTONE from France getting in the mix. I hope you are as impressed as we are with the performance that these women put down on these boulders. When they came out of the gate and it looked like they were just going to start topping all the boulders, and then things got difficult on boulder 3 and boulder 4, but Natalia Grossman finding an extra gear on coming down to near her last attempt. The clock was definitely in play, and she found a way to make that jump work, get herself a top, and secure gold medal here in Salt Lake City. Be impressed, that's what I will tell you. So, Megan is going to go and interview Natalia, get a few words from her. It's going to be an emotional interview for sure. And then following that, just so you stick around with us here, the men's final is coming up pretty much right on the heels of this. So we're going to get through the interview, we're going to then bring the men back out, and we're going to just keep rocking and rolling here. So here we go. A look at the total standings here for the top 6. Natalia Grossman, ORIANE, Brooke, MIHO, Jessica, and Johanna. Really good example here of strong route setting, creating separation through attempts in some insecure, risky boulders. We saw this jump when we looked at it when Megan and I were previewing, and we looked down and thought, that's going to take some people a couple of tries. We are go for the interview. Megan is going to talk to Natalia.
Natalia, huge congratulations.
That is a big smile.
On your very first World Cup win. What does it mean to you to be winning here in Salt Lake City in front of a home crowd?
It's a dream. Like, I'm speechless. Yeah, it was just so special to share this moment with my best friend Brooke. And this is something we've always dreamed of, is to be able to make a World Cup final together, and it finally happened. And it's just so surreal, so exciting.
First gold medal.
It was so great to have a crowd and
hard.
Yeah.
And it must have been really exciting just being so neck and neck between you and Brooke the whole way through the round. How did you keep your composure, especially on that last boulder that was kind of thwarting you for a little bit?
Yeah, I don't know, it was really cool. We were pretty neck and neck. We both did the third one, and I knew it was going to come down to the fourth. So I just tried to keep my composure, and either way, if she had flashed her or whatever, I was psyched for her. So I didn't care if she won or if I won. I was just excited to give it my all, and I surprised myself in the last second because I felt my legs started to feel really tired, but I just rapid fired and it worked out.
And I mean, this entire weekend you've been at the top, and this is your second World Cup final in a row. And what do you think it is that's making you perform so well these days?
I think it's my mental game. I've been working a lot on believing in myself and a lot of other tactics. So it's been great to put those to use. And throughout quarantine, I read a lot of books on mental management, and so it's been cool to have competitions again and be able to implement what I've learned.
Well, it was so exciting to watch you climb. Huge congratulations, and we can't wait to see you next weekend as well.
Thank you.
Kokoro Fuji. So, Adam Ondra, who won in Menningen a couple of weeks ago, looking to secure another podium here in Salt Lake City. That is coming up momentarily. Don't go far. The men's final, hopefully going to have as much energy as the women. It's tough to follow a performance like that, but I'm sure the men will do everything they can to keep the excitement level nice and high. Second event of the year. So people are just getting their legs under them after quite a bit of time off. I heard Sean McCall talking yesterday. There's definitely some rust floating around these climbers. They are getting their competition legs back under them. Megan and I were chatting earlier. Talked to John Muse a little bit earlier on this week. He's the VP of sport climbing for USAC, about what it takes to put down a comp like this.
We're excited to have it here in Salt Lake City. This is the home of our national governing body, USA Climbing. So we wanted to showcase this awesome event for the people in Salt Lake City. As far as getting it going, it's been a lot the last couple of weeks, but I think it's going to be a fantastic event for the community. I don't know if it's quantifiable at this point. I can tell you we started about 2 weeks ago laying the infrastructure down for the event itself, and then it's been months of planning in the making. So. Anytime you're outside, you've got to build all the infrastructure for the event. So starting with the structure that's going to hold up the speed wall, for example, or putting some coverings out, laying out all the power and all the internet. I mean, it's all from ground up. We started out with just a parking lot that we're standing on right now, and if now, shortly we'll see what we've created for everyone that'll be out here. Maybe 100 steps from where I'm standing right now. I can be in my office sitting at my desk, maybe a little bit further than that, but sure, it's just essentially across the street. Great coming out for us at USA Climbing here in Salt Lake City. So great partners with the Utah Sports Commission and our partners with industry who we have our office spaces with. It's been a great opportunity for those international athletes coming into town for us to utilize our training center and have them come in, not only for our high performance coaching staff to just work with the other coaches, see how they're training, but have a space for these international athletes to come in and warm up for the World Cup that they're about to compete in the next couple of weekends. But yeah, we're excited to have all of these countries represented, and man, to be honest, back to an event after a year of hiatus, it feels fantastic to actually be doing something again, and we'll be fortunate to actually have spectators, whereas the first World Cup they couldn't have spectators. So we're excited to again to have some sort of normality back in front of us.
We are getting ready now for the men's final. The mats have been cleared. The boulders have been set. We are here in Salt Lake City for the second stop on the IFSC Boulder World Cup 2021. In the men's final, we're going to see some first. Vejdi Slack, 17 years old. This will be his second World Cup. He finished 12th in Merrigan, which is an excellent showing to make a semifinal in your first World Cup, and he will come out with something to prove for sure. Veterans Jakob Schubert, Greg Verzonik, Kokoro, and Adam will be looking to hold him off as the onslaught of youth coming up through the World Cup circuit. There are a lot of strong young climbers who are out at the events and really showing the veterans that they are here to stay. And
we see this on the women's side a lot of the athletes being younger, but it's honestly very rare to see a teenage male make it into a final. The men are kind of able to hold off the younger competitors for a time, so this honestly might be a first. I don't actually know. I'd have to look that up a bit, but
yeah, to see if this is the youngest. I don't know that it's the youngest, but
very impressive nonetheless. And
very impressive.
Exciting to see so many veterans in the final, and also to see two Olympic qualified athletes, Jakob Schubert and Adam Andra, in the final here tonight.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, Jakob Schubert, an excellent combined athlete, and it just has an unbelievable poise when he is in his element. And right now, he is looking like he is in his element. I think 67 total podiums across all across all disciplines. Had a fantastic 2019 season. He had a first, a second, and a third, and then missed the semi in Menningen. So maybe a little bit of that rust coming into play, but you know that with his experience, he's going to have made some adjustments, and that has put him in a final here in Salt Lake City. So Jakob Schubert, always one to watch. Can never ignore Adam Andra, of course, arguably the strongest climber in the world. When you go outside. So he is a sporadic competitor, Adam Andra. But when he shows up, he definitely means business.
And looking at the boulders here for the men, we got to look at them a little bit earlier, and it seems like boulders that Adam would definitely do well on.
So we'll get one last look at Natalia Grossman with her gold medal top.
And you could see, I mean, when she caught that zone hold, there was just instant happiness knowing that she could most likely top the boulder, and not even knowing if she needed to top the boulder or not, which she didn't, to even win. But like she was saying in the interview, a dream come true. She's been dreaming of this for years. This is what she's been working towards. I mean, her entire climbing career. So amazing that it's happened for her. Things don't always happen this way.
Exactly, exactly. Every now and then the dream lines up, and when you've competing as a youth climber, you're hoping to get that longevity. Not all youth climbers make the transition to open climbing. Life happens, school happens, work happens. Lots of things need to fall into place for a successful youth athlete to transition into a successful open career. And it does definitely look like she is here to stay. So we are ready to get down to it. Mejdi Schlack, 17 years old from France. First World Cup final, first boulder. You've got to control a little bit of nerves here. You've got to think that you are fighting the butterflies and the adrenaline of coming out for your first boulder in a final. We'll see what kind of composure he's got.
Although I do feel like when it is your very first World Cup final, and then, I mean, it's only his second World Cup in general, he doesn't really have anything to lose. So that's kind of a freeing feeling as well, as he just ran across so quickly to the zone. Ooh, little slip there.
Little slip.
But I really like how he executed that run across. It was so smooth and so quick, actually, like a lot of speed.
Yes. Yeah, that was really pretty impressive out of the gate.
He looked like a sprinter.
And this is, we were talking a little bit with the route setters. We talk a lot with the route setters. We were talking about this boulder a little bit. You know, this comp has been a lot of rock climbing style boulders, a lot of on your feet, a lot of small holds. This slab volume traverse, it's really only two moves. You're not running across boulders so much as you're just getting in momentum over to that zone. So enough, again, to steal some attempts, get them thinking about whether they got their feet going in the right direction. Am I a left-right? Am I a right-left? How am I going to approach this?
Well, and this is the kind of move, too, that because it's so quick, it's so easy to forget exactly what you did. And I feel like that's kind of what's happening here with Mejdi at the moment. I mean, the last attempt he just did, he almost stuck it again, but it was completely different from his first attempt.
Yes, exactly.
It had a little more flair, actually, as his leg was kind of flying out behind him. Oh, a little slip there, too.
So this came out gangbusters, and now just settling down maybe a little bit. And just like that, 2 minutes disappear off the clock.
Oh, nicely done that time.
Good composure.
Again, very different from the first attempt, but looks nicely. And I really like this section of the boulder. I love when they set these super directional holds that kind of force you into these very awkward positions where you have to stand on your feet. And this is kind of more reminiscent of something you would see outside, this top half of the boulder.
Yeah, the transition left to right can be very difficult when you're not given the right amount of opposition or the right holds in the right order, and obviously by design. So the route setters are out here to make you wish you had a slightly different set of holds in front of you. It's a good angle for this this slab crossing. You just have to touch that one. It's really bad, the middle one, but you're not stopping, you're not slowing down on it.
I mean, I guess we don't know 100% that someone won't stop on it,
It's
but
true,
it
it's
doesn't
true.
seem like the best option.
Doesn't seem like a great idea, but we've been surprised before.
Yes, we are not all-knowing, but we try.
We do. We're medium knowing. This is looking good
better
again.
foot placement here.
Much better.
Man, great close-up of that little jib hold that he had his foot on. Very, very, very small hold.
Can you call that a foothold?
I know. Not only is it small, but it's thin too. Which really just adds to the whole thing.
Yeah, there's you have to think in all of the dimensions. It doesn't stick out very far. It's not very wide. The precision can go up exponentially when you start combining sharp, small, slopey, moving so quickly.
So quick, and it's funny because now he is doing the exact same beginning. It's different from the very first attempt he had, but he does this little hop, and that seems to be the one that was working the best for him, but not enough time to actually finish this boulder. He's going to be a little disappointed with that.
Some climbers are very good at hiding their emotions and their body language, but you see Mejdi there shaking his head as he walked around the corner to secondary isolation. I think he'll be thinking about this for at least a few minutes back there of what he could have done differently on top of this boulder. He was, all intents and purposes, right there, but the last move is a no gimme.
Definitely not a gimme, and you know, having those dual textured holds and them being mostly the slippery texture versus that friction texture makes it that much more difficult.
Anze Park from Slovenia.
Ooh.
Tried to stop with his right hand on the drive there.
And I was talking to one of the forerunners earlier, and he was saying that that's how you could catch it, is kind of in that elevator door position that we just saw Anze do with one hand on each and kind of fight the opposition and kind of lean into the wall. Sorry.
That's such a good description. We find ways to describe movement in the wild, and yeah, imagine opening the elevator doors. That's exactly what's happening there. And to continue the analogy, then you get to continue moving up.
Yep. And then in that lie back position, that terrible, terrible tiny foothold. Ooh, his left foot is on the zone, kind of just pressing against it. Really smart to create that opposition. See if he can get his right foot up onto that jib. Oh, holds that swing, so much tension.
Really difficult release, and yes.
Nicely done by Anze.
Wonderful work. Really, really good. So he'll be hunting only his second podium. 23 years old. He's been in enough comps, but hasn't been able to just dial all the rounds together and finish up on top.
The beta here that he used for his feet was so perfect. Gave him the ability to kind of hop up onto that foothold, which a lot of tension to hold there, but he was able to hold that swing and really just push down on that foothold to make it happen.
Well, that's a very composed finish on an insecure finish.
Another quick look at that foot hop, which is a little risky, but I mean, if you execute it perfectly, then it's okay.
Yeah, and you see even that, the heel drop, getting as much rubber on that hold as possible instead of standing up tall and trying to point your way down. Good statistics here. Jakob Schubert, 64% of tops in the boulders that he's arrived at. That's a good number.
That's a very good number. So one thing to note is that Jakob has 2 different shoes on his feet. You'll see some athletes do this. Adam Andra does it a lot as well. Since they did get a chance to preview the boulders, they're able to decide which shoes they want to bring out, right? And every climber has multiple pairs of shoes, but sometimes you might want one shoe for part of the boulder and a different shoe for the other. And what I'm thinking is that Jakob's going with the Futura because it's better for the run across, but then to put his right foot on that jib later, the solution will be a better bet because it's a stiffer shoe and is a little more specific and better on smaller holds. So it's a good choice.
And this is where we've come to in competition climbing is the level of detail required to remain successful or become successful. It gets down to I need to wear 2 different shoes because this boulder is 2 completely different styles.
Yeah, it's very precise these days, bouldering. Competitions in general. It's funny because, you know, a decade ago, it wasn't so much this way, right? The field is deeper, the talent is stronger. I mean, kids are starting climbing younger, federations are more organized. It's just a different animal these days. So
yeah, and you need to find ways to
keep
be
that
successful
edge.
and keep that edge. Exactly.
Literally.
Yeah.
You need an edging shoe sometimes.
Sometimes.
Wow. Well, that is a very interesting approach to this. I'm actually surprised that he isn't quite finding the sweet spot on this run across because generally he's pretty good at this kind of coordination movement. But, I mean, he has plenty of time. He can kind of move through the top section of the boulder a little quicker.
He's trying to catch those 2 at the same time appears to be harder than trying to stick the left side and then recover with the right hand.
Especially because he's not actually running across through that middle volume. He's just skipping to the far one. So it makes it even harder to hold because he's having to throw his foot out and then try to hold the elevator door position with those opposing half-moon climbing holds.
Yeah.
Or actually, I guess those are technically a volume. They're big enough,
They're
right?
big enough. But a really interesting decision to note that he is skipping over the middle. Oh, and that maybe that time he looked like he was going to give it a shot, and he got ahead of himself. The right foot just completely missed the second step.
I honestly think he was skipping over it too because it seems to be a little more slippery than the other 2 holds. You can see those black rubber streaks already on it, and that's only going to make it worse. Man, this is definitely not the way that Jakob wants to start his final.
No.
As he's kind of panic climbing at the moment,
This time,
right?
yeah. He's like, do I have to go faster? Do I have to go stronger? He's almost overshooting it at this point. He's putting too much momentum and energy, and he's coming in violently, really.
And you generally don't want to throw yourself at a boulder back to back to back to back, but this is the kind of movement that if you could ever do that and actually stick it, it might be a move like this. He's going to just keep going.
Just keep going. I mean, the zone is worth so much.
It is.
So he's going to have to walk away with that one. A bit of a wry smile. Sort of a hand to the crowd of, I'm not sure what I needed to do.
Still looking back at it, wondering, what did I do wrong? I don't understand. And I mean, with all the power that he had, he could have probably just kept it going and tried to catch 2 hands on the last hold like we saw Majdi do on his first attempt. But, you know, now you got to just let it go.
Yeah, and now
can't harp on it anymore.
It's all guesswork when
dwell
you're
on
sitting
it.
by yourself in secondary ISO. It's all guesswork. What if I had done A, would I have been successful? You can't stay in that space for too long. Gregor Vrzonik, 25 years old from Slovenia. I really like watching Gregor climb. I think he's a wonderfully well-rounded athlete. Strong. He has a good sense of humor about it. He looks like he's trying to keep a good emotional balance through a round.
It's nice because he tries really hard, and you see those emotions come out when he's trying hard. He'll scream, he'll like yell, and then whether he tops or fails, he still ends up smiling as he walks off the mats, and I think that that's something that's really unique and keeps it fun.
He's only ever won one World Cup with 4 podiums beside that at 29 years old. But he does have it impressive. We have these great stats here.
We really do.
He sent 50% of his finals boulders.
Yeah, and it's funny because we say has won only 1 World Cup, but the majority of the people will never win a World Cup. So it is an impressive thing to be able to put on your resume to win a Bouldering World Cup or to be on the podium multiple times, even to be in finals multiple times. This game is so sporadic or inconsistent at times.
Yeah.
So when you can find some consistency, it's so impressive.
And I think that we've been kind of tricked a bit of late watching Johanna dominate competitions, and you think, oh, okay, the best climber just wins every time, and that is absolutely not the case. If you look down over a season, if you can podium, 3 times out of 7 events, you are absolutely in the running. So for someone to win every event in a season, it's almost unheard of, and it sets a different bar where you think, oh, everyone should just be like Johanna. How come no one else is winning every comp? And really, almost in the splits there, an interesting attempt.
I really like that approach, actually. I think that's something that he could do. And I mean, I kind of wanted to see if someone was going to try to do this slower anyway. And Gregor generally is really good on slab, so he's comfortable kind of getting in funky positions and trying to make it work. And I mean, I think he could make that happen.
Yeah, the overall strength that he has allows him to be a little bit creative and think, what can I do and still maintain contact?
And he really he does understand movement a lot and very well, and he's spent a lot of time actually stateside, working with American athletes even in different camps and clinics. So I always think that if you can also be coaching a little, that just helps your climbing so much more, because you start to tap into some of those subtleties that maybe you're not paying as much attention to.
Yeah, I agree. The ability to look at someone else's movement and break it down and then be able to come back to them with a good explanation, a level of understanding, shows how well you understand movement, and then it just gets reinforced in yourself. And when we're talking about the subtleties of fractions of degrees of where your hips might be or where your foot placement might be, that introspection is very, very important. So yeah, I agree. Coaching is a big addition, if you have time for it, to your skill set.
He's getting so close. It's actually crazy, but it looks like he's going to have to walk away without a zone or a top on this boulder.
A little frustrated for sure.
Results so far are already getting a little hairy, as the men are now they're halfway, more than halfway through the field. We only have 2 more climbers to come out for this first boulder for the men's final.
And just a lot of attempts, to get across that is probably not sapping energy too much, but anytime you try a boulder 7 or 8 times, you start to ratchet up the what do I need to do factor.
Yeah, and also it kind of lets that little bit of doubt start to creep in sometimes about, just your climbing in general, and you kind of keep that out because there's, 3 more boulders to get on.
Yeah, absolutely. Adam Ondra just having a quick brush and a quick look.
And kind of as I predicted, also with 2 different shoes on, he's got a solution on his right foot, and it looks like a python on his left foot. Not sure, I'm not sponsored by Las Sportivas, so...
Your recognition is better than mine, I'll give you that. No doubt, better than mine.
But again, the solution for the right foot is definitely key for that small foothold at the very top of this boulder.
So this is, if you were going to pick something that Adam Ondra is, I'm just going to say not good at, even though it should be taken in context. If you're going to pick something that Adam Ondra is not good at, it's this type of climbing. He's not a regular competitor, and that's what this is. Regular competition gives you more exposure to this kind of move. Obviously, he's training, but he always looks a bit uncomfortable until he solves it. But if he gets his mitts around a hold, he rarely lets go.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the past few years, he's definitely put more time into doing like the full World Cup circuit. And I mean, there was even a time where he wasn't really psyched on trying to do speed, but then, I mean, he came around and he's going to the Olympics, so he's in a little bit of a different place now and nicely sticks that coordination move. But yes, I would say coordination is definitely, of his amazing skill set, not the highest on the list, right? If it's probably around, if it's a 1 to 10 range, it's probably around like a 4 of his skill
Of his skill set.
But that coordination on someone else would still be like an 8 on their skill set, right?
Yeah.
It's just his skill set's so incredibly high.
I feel that that would be a 10, maybe an 11 on my range.
Yeah, see, it's hard to say when you're dealing with an athlete who is just so talented.
And then you see that learned movement and then immediately replicated, which is hard on a move like that. There's so many variables. This is really
Nice flexibility of the hips there. It's always so fun to watch him climb.
moving in control. Barring a gigantic mistake, that's going to be a top from Adamandra. So he catches up to Anze, who came out of the gates with a really, really strong top of that boulder. Adamandra keeping himself in contention.
And really nice adjustments there by Adam, and not wasting too much time, honestly, to kind of find it. And the same kind of way that Jakob and Gregor were trying to do the boulder, but they just weren't getting high enough and to the left enough in order to get in that right position for the elevator doors, and then nicely working his way through the top of the boulder. That was a little more technical and more the kind of style that suits him a bit better than that actual coordination movement, but really great climbing from him.
Yeah, and even, you know, as you say, as we get a look at Kokoro Fuji, our last climber out on the first boulder, Adam, you know, even a little bit slower on that traverse move. So a little higher, a little more in control, and then slowing down so that there's not so much of a violent swing you saw from Jakob, just unable to stop on these flat holds. A little breeze picking up, which the climbers will probably like here. It's going to cool down things.
It's good for them. I'm shivering, but this is about them, so they'll definitely enjoy it.
Kokoro looking there like he was going to, his first instinct was to match the zone and ignore the hold along the way.
Which worked for Majdi on his first attempt, so it's definitely doable. Now, coordination is something that Kokoro is very good at generally. As are most of the Japanese athletes, it's definitely where they have kind of set the bar for the rest of the competitors.
Yes. And they have been dominant in recent years. And we were looking at 4 members of the Japanese team in the semifinal, and I was almost certain that we were going to get, you know, 3 or 4 of them into the final. So I was a little surprised, just because they've been so consistently capable of putting multiple members of their team into final rounds. So Kokoro is carrying the flag, as it were, for the Japanese team here.
And he was in the final in Meiringen a few weeks ago, and he ended up 4th, so just shy of the podium. So I'm sure he would prefer to be on the podium here this week, and that would have been a crazy way to catch slash hard on the shoulders once you actually had to press into the holds that way. But
I like Kokoro's sort of his danger comes from the fact that he's been in
and
wonderful,
he did it that
and he
way
did it
anyway.
that way.
Amazing.
That's great. 4 of his 5 podiums are wins. So
which is so impressive, right? Oh man, that's not what you want to happen. You don't want to slip right after doing the coordination fun part.
Yeah, and then, well, you get to do it again.
That's true.
Yeah, it's exciting to get to do the coordination fun part a second time.
I mean, it did look like he has now learned the move a bit better, so he should be able to stick it more efficiently this time. Or like, it shouldn't take him many tries.
Yeah.
Kind of figured it out. Oh, whoa, he went a little too fast.
Sort of blew
though.
right by it.
It almost looked like the wind picked up and kind of
Just
carried
blew
him
across.
through.
Yeah. So that's 1 minute. So that's become a factor here.
There we go.
Wonderful.
Now he just needs to stay super present here and figure out how to stand up and get into the next hold on this hold. He looks so comfortable though.
There's no shake going on.
We kind of saw everyone else be really afraid to stand on that hold. He just stood on it and gets a top with 33 seconds left on the clock. Nicely done by Kokoro Fuji.
Very nicely done. And the ability to, you don't have time to slow your heart rate down, but the ability to slow down your processing after 6 or 7 tries at a very dynamic move, and then to have to be so precise, that is a skill that you need to train for, and you need to spend a lot of time going, okay, now I need to be so careful.
And we kind of saw him do that too right after his second to last attempt. He was going way too fast, and he just took a second. It was like time to reset. He was able to reset and then nicely work his way through the top of the boulder and get a top, which is big on this first boulder because it's really putting you in a good position to end up on the podium.
Stay ahead of the stiff competition following you up. So after 1, Ante Pahark, Adam Andra, Kokoro Fuji, all with tops, separated by attempts. And then you get Mejdi with the zone. Gregor and Jakob unable to secure a zone on boulder 1. So they will be feeling a little bit of the heat coming into the second boulder. We are at the 2021 Salt Lake Boulder World Cup, second event in the IFSC season. Just started the men's final. If you're joining us a little bit late, Pete Woods here with Megan Martin. We are just getting into the meat of it now. Second boulder. We've had some excitement on the first boulder. We are slowly going to work our way towards a podium on the men's half. The women competed earlier. A wonderful, wonderful, wonderful showing from the American women.
Definitely exciting for the Salt Lake City crowd to see 2 American women on the podium. That hasn't happened in a long time, if ever. I actually don't think it's ever happened. So kind of history making there. Now we're going from a very fast boulder to a more subtle, slow, technical boulder as Mejdi is working his way through the kind of
handless traverse and
on dual textured holds with very, very little friction, mostly slippery. And then the zone hold is also pretty terrible.
A really good look at the careful footwork here. All on your feet, which, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, has been a theme.
Very nicely done.
Well done from Mejdi.
Kind of similar to what we saw from the women's boulder, kind of that slow to fast movement, which is always exciting and keeps the athletes on their toes, literally.
Yeah, you tip over for as long as you can, and then you make the commitment. The finish hold, gnarly, but so much composure from the 17-year-old for his second boulder final. I mean, it's remarkable. It's the second boulder he's climbed on in a final, and he's showing all kinds of composure.
I think it's also really fun to look at his statistics personally, because his semi-final is 100% right now because he's been in 2 World Cups and made 2 semifinals.
Yeah, and crushed boulders in them. Looking to follow up his first top, keep that momentum going. And it feels good to get a couple in a row right out of the gate, doesn't it?
Most definitely. Anytime you can top boulders, and especially early on in the round, you just feel so much more confident and that you still have a chance to win. The moment the wind starts slipping away, it's hard to keep it together and not let yourself give up a little bit.
Yeah, and you absolutely know that these 2 younger climbers in Anze and Mejdi are aware that they're in a final with Jakob, Gregor, Adam, and Kokoro. They are not going to be under the illusion of the amount of experience and how hard they're going to have to work to show their stuff. So the pressure is there. You might come out, you might say sitting at home, of course I can beat Adam Andra. But when push comes to shove, you really do have to believe it deep down, and then you have to back it up with really, really strong rock climbing, and that is what we've seen so far.
Yeah, the men have been really impressive all weekend. I mean, they always are, and the field always just so incredible. It's a wonder that anyone can ever be consistent because there are just so many strong men, especially in the bouldering.
And it was a tough semifinal, remember. The Anze and Mejdi and Jakob and Gregor all got in with 1 top. So they haven't touched a lot of finish holds over their round from the semi leading here. So you're feeling like you might be in for another beating. So you've got to reset a bit there as well and realize that it's a new round. You can't settle on the fact that although you made a semi, you're thinking that you only topped one boulder. That doesn't ever really leave your conscious thought of, now I'm here, I'm in the final, but I only topped one boulder in the semi.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle mentally, and then also being so physically fatigued and then still needing to perform on difficult boulders again makes it a little tricky.
Absolutely.
On Anze's last attempt, he got in a much better position here, but kind of was moving to the zone a little too fast. See if he can slow it down a bit. Again, the holds he's standing on are dual textured, meaning they are two different types of texture. Nice close up there. You can see that pointy part at the end is the only part with friction. The rest of it is slippery, making it really difficult to get purchase on it.
Absolutely.
And then go to a very bad zone hold.
It's the combination of all of those things that make the real kick to a boulder like this. If the feet are a little bit better, it's not so bad that the zone hold is terrible. If the zone hold is good enough that you can risk a jump to it and control the swing, then it doesn't really matter that the feet aren't so bad. So that combination of things is why we talk about the intelligence of the route setting crew and the level of detail they get into to be able to create boulders that will cause insecurity, doubt, falls, second guessing. It's a real skill set.
I mean, to be able to set and separate the best in the world, that has got to be the hardest job.
Yeah. As you saw him, he started to fall and then almost recovered with the little quick stick there. Not quite enough control.
It's hard too because the zone hold is more there just to kind of pause on, and then you kind of have to go into that jump double Gaston next. So you're not really going to hold it. You're just going to kind of go for balance and then just move right out of it quickly. And he almost made it happen. He just wasn't high enough on the left shoulder to really reel it in and hold the swing. But good effort there.
I'm assuming they're going to give him the zone on that because he did use it to move past. He just sort of tapped it on the way by, and he needed that to stay in a fighting spot. So
I would be surprised if they didn't give him the zone. At the end of the day, control is always up to the jury president, and so he could file an appeal, but it looks with the live scoring like they have given him the zone, which I would think is a good decision. Because if you use it to move to another hold, you've used it.
Even if you're falling off of it as you use it, you have in fact advanced your position on the boulder using that.
And it's not even like he was falling out from the wall. He was on the next two holds and looked like he had a chance of actually holding them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that will probably stick. It's always, you never know when someone's going to appeal something, and they have every right to. It's part of the process here. If your coach from one of the other federations sees something that they think they disagree with, then they will launch that appeal and say, go back and look at the film and make a decision. It's sort of an extended behind-the-scenes video replay, and you very, very careful work from Jakob here.
I really like what he did there when he crossed through. Everyone else was kind of crossing through in more of a back step way, and he kind of turned his foot into
look at this!
Wow!
Look at this!
Nice save.
Huge save on what are objectively terrible holds. That's a really, really impressive show of strength from Jakob Schubert.
And just fight in general, knowing that he didn't top or get the zone on the first hold. You know he was just holding on for dear life because he knows a flash so big.
That is a really, really big comeback from the disappointing first boulder. Jakob Schubert absolutely showing you why he has been so successful for so long. Boulder number one, that's in the past.
Yeah.
He came out on this boulder. Look at this. The way he saves. The cross through, great footwork. And then just watch the save as the feet come off, moving past the zone.
So much finger strength.
I mean, he's only got 3 fingers on the bottom hand.
And his shoulder dropped so much too to pull it back up. That's when one-arm training comes in handy.
Yeah. That is, wow, I'm impressed. That's a very, very impressive stick from Jakob Schubert. And he will go back into ISO being
Very happy
a
with
little
that.
burst of adrenaline of, wait a minute, I am still very, very good at this.
And still in the running for the podium.
Yep, just like that. When you're dealing with a round, you know, much like we saw in the men's semifinal, where one or two tops is going to swing major podium implications, then you've got to get, everyone has to matter. Even if you haven't topped 3 boulders, you have to approach the 4th boulder as though that top is going to get you in a position to have a better standing. And it's not easy to do, but it's something that you absolutely have to be able to dial into.
Looks like Gregor is finding a nice little crack in the wall that hasn't been taped over or anything, so that means he can kind of use it. I mean, it's so small he can't really like hold it, but he's using it with his thumb as more of a balance point to kind of inch his way over a little slower. And that's another thing that a seasoned competitor will do. They'll look at every aspect of what the boulder has to offer, including the wall itself, and see if there's any edge that they could possibly have.
When it was gray in the rules a number of years ago, I've seen climbers step on the zone and start markings.
Oh yeah, that was only valid for a second. That was quickly taken
removed.
away.
It's like, we don't have to black tape up. Yeah, so they will look for every advantage. Great balance here from Greg. Now it's about slow and strong.
It's in a much better position now.
A great look at how shiny the dual texture is, even though it's on your palm.
Nicely done. Really catches that left hand high. There's a little jib screwed onto that hold that is now acting as a volume because it's got a screw on it. And he caught it so high, really engaging the shoulder.
Looking, just making sure.
It's going to be safe, playing it safe here.
Yes, big smile. Yeah, just when you thought he was going to do the high match with the low feet, which can be risky. He stepped right up in and thought, sometimes, I mean, an extra few seconds, an extra movement might seem like a bad idea, like just match. But you don't want to put things to chance when you are not sure what's going to happen. And this ended up being an excellent decision from Gregor.
He's so comfortable on slabs, so for him, it's smarter to, you know, make sure he can secure the finish rather than take that risk. Other climbers maybe wouldn't be as comfortable doing that, and they would just kind of go for the match. Also, they wouldn't maybe think to palm down like that.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
that's something that was very intuitive to be like, okay, well, if I put a palm down, now I have better opposition, and I can also now bring my foot up and easily match the finish.
Easily match the finish, and there is a tendency to rush your way to both hands on the last hold, and we've seen even in this competition this weekend, people in an attempt to match have blown themselves off of a finish just by moving a little bit too quickly, a little bit too out of caution. That keeps him fighting.
And Adam nice and slowly moving into the
that extra height paid off.
Yeah, it really did. He was able to catch it much higher and just be above it naturally.
And although this is going to appear bunchy, kind of compressed for him, his mobility is so good that it's not an issue to get that foot up high. Adam Andra with a very composed flash.
And it's so cool to watch him because he is a taller and lankier climber, but because of his mobility, he sometimes will climb like a shorter climber. Like, he didn't need to get his foot that high, but it's just comfortable for him and more secure. And because he has such great mobility, he can do that, and it's not a big deal. I mean, like, that was not even a problem. He's just like, oh, I'm just going to move it up really quick. Super easy.
Intuitively, his right foot came to the jib, and that is a really, really, really dramatic example of awareness in space. You're swinging across, he's looking up, and his right foot finds that jib a long way away. That kind of, those little details, if you want to know why Adam Andra is better than most other climbers, it's these kinds of things. That perception and memory of where holds are you don't need it on every boulder, but when you need it and it's there for you, it can be a difference maker.
I mean, climbing is so much about subtleties in progression, especially with people's climbing and their overall skill set and how well-rounded they are. So if you can master all the subtleties, you're going to be hard to beat.
Kokura on his flash attempt, his first attempt, as we said.
Looking a little uncomfortable.
A little uncomfortable. He's reaching. He's kind of keeping his center of mass to the right, maybe more than he should, but very careful.
And those shoes actually, I don't know which shoe that is, but they look a little soft, which can make it a little harder to stand on those footholds like that, but he's working through it. I mean, you can see how arched his foot is, but making it happen.
Yep. He's got to stay hot and moving quickly to stay with Adamandra. So this is going to be important.
Wow, that slip was
a long one.
And it's still kind of happening as he fights through, seeing if he can find the right.
He's trying to switch, and he ideally wants to get his left hand swapped to the jib, I think. But
really.
no, he's gonna
use every inch of his reach to try to get in the right position. Oh no. Now, though this boulder is not as strenuous as some of the others, moves like that, where you're in such an awkward position and you're fighting so hard, especially because, you know, that was his flash attempt, and you just kind of freak out internally, that zaps your energy so much more than you think it does.
Yes, absolutely. And something we alluded to and talked about in earlier rounds is the core effort. It saps you all around, right? It's not just, doesn't just have to be your fingers that get tired or your calves that get tired. When you are fighting with every limb, you just get overall fatigued. And attempts start to matter. So if you've got to, you've got to climb again, and you see you gave a decent amount of time in between attempts. It's a slow climbing boulder, and you know the most we're going to see is, I mean, maybe 3, depending on when.
More confidence moving through this section this time, but it's also a little scarier because the clock is counting down, and like you said, the lower part of this boulder takes a lot more time, so you don't want to have to get on it again.
So, another slip, but now looking a little more comfortable with his hand choices here, and maybe he'll stay. Gets the high foot, and he's still going to go back up. This method is, I think, the riskiest way to top this boulder.
Almost in the right position.
Yeah, just you look at that left leg fighting for counterbalance.
His right foot is so arched and close, but he's going to make it happen.
And then all of a sudden, so comfortable.
I mean, once you've matched, there's the risk is gone. You don't have to be so scared patting his heart as he experienced some fear there trying to get through that boulder problem. Nicely done. Really good fight and composure by Kokoro Fuji.
And interesting to note that it took him 40 seconds from being past the zone. He was here at 1 minute, and then it took a while. But as you say, excellent composure to not lose. And look how quickly that right hand comes up, and the smile is immediate.
Nicely done.
A little bit of relief, a little bit of excitement. It's a good combination of emotions. And just like that, 2 boulders down. Adamandra on top based on attempts. 6 attempts over Kokoro Fuji with 9 attempts to his 2 tops. And then it's a mix down here. Mejdi with 1, Anze with 1, Jakob with 1, and Gregor with 1 top. So with 2 boulders to go, we could see a lot of movement in the bottom half of the table.
Yeah, and the next 2 boulders coming up, one of them is very tricky, and it'll be interesting to see if the men are able to read what the setters intended immediately. So that could be a place where more attempts are lost because it is a little confusing and not so straightforward. And that is the next boulder. Men's number 3 is the one that's a little more tricky, not so straightforward, and could be the one that, you know, changes things a bit here.
Yeah, especially as you start to add options and you come out, yes, you've previewed, yes, you've talked about it, but if you know you've got a few options, 4 minutes disappears very quickly when you try one thing and then you try something else, and then you have to decide, you know, did I get it right? So that definitely in boulders where you get into that greater complexity, more options, more holds. Yes, there are simpler boulders that are harder, of course, just by nature, but you can get difficulties simply out of a lot of options, even though the holds are relatively good.
It's funny you say that. I almost feel like sometimes when you get on like warm-up climbs, because there are more holds, it's more specific to like lead climbing, and you're like, I'm a little lost because there's so many holds to choose from. All of a sudden you have more choices and you're kind of confused.
And you can grab them all, yeah.
Yeah, and so then you kind of find yourself in this weird position where you don't know what's happening, even though it's a little easier.
So just a little bit of a break on the doing a little crowd engagement. If you have just tuned in a little bit late, you are watching the men's final here in Salt Lake City, the IFSC Boulder World Cup, the second stop of the 2021 season. I'm Pete Woods. I'm joined by Megan Martin, and we've been at this all day, and we have been treated to some excellent climbing. We have seen some wonderful examples of route setting. I'm loving the crowd that's here, the energy in the building, and this is. You know, for all intents and purposes, has been a really, really, really good semifinal and final. A lot of excitement. And if you didn't see the women's final, you can always go back and watch it in replay. It will be on the IFSC YouTube channel for you know, for the foreseeable future. And if you want to see the two American women on top of the podium and showing the emotion that comes along with that, I would absolutely suggest that you have a peek back at the women's final rounds. So Boulder number 3, Mejdi Slak, who is climbing well in his finals debut. Bonus on the first, top on the second. And here we go.
And so he isn't reading this the proper way, but it's still going to work.
Look at this, the flexibility. And when you know you have that flexibility, you're more tempted to do something dramatic instead of saying, I definitely can't do that. I need to find a way that doesn't involve me a hand-foot matching above my head.
Yeah, his method is correct. The start was just not exactly the way they intended it, but it looked really good to me. And there's always, I mean,
there's always a few
options.
There's
always options, so as long as you can make it work. But that heel toe cam is definitely the intended way to do it.
You just have to work your way back around. There's not a lot going on the top of those, but just you see that undercling swap.
Woo, into those pinches.
Sort of flaring pinches. They get a little bit worse as you go up.
And the hold he's on now is a super shallow pocket hold, so it's a little circle and then it's very thin and it's got a little texture around it. And
wow.
Very confident finish there by Mejdi Slak.
Wow.
And that moves him into the first position. I know, right? He looked like a seasoned competitor there, huh?
That was
look out, guys.
I will admit I thought the top was going to be a little bit harder. This undercling a really good route reading and then really having no problem with these pinches.
Yeah, really just squeezing them. And I mean, so many of the athletes have such strong fingers, and that does also translate to pinch strength. So I'm not really surprised that he kind of walked that section. This is a boulder that I think would be interesting to see in a semifinal. I think it would be a little more difficult if you didn't get a chance to preview it and discuss it with your fellow competitors.
Absolutely. You spend a lot more time working out the start and trying into the sequence of movements required to get you up there.
So Ante kind of started this a little more, he started it in the way that they had relayed it to me, the route setters. When Mejdi started it, he was more to the side, and Ante is starting it more straight on.
But it's not looking to campus.
He didn't see, though, the heel toe cam yet. So I wonder if he knows or if he...
if he's just thinking, I mean, the right-handed there they've got on the start is the best hold you are ever going to get in a men's final. I almost guarantee that. That is a jug by all accounts.
And one thing I do kind of notice more is during the preview, I noticed the women kind of chat with each other a bit more than the men do. So I also wonder if he does know about this heel toe cam that Mejdi used. I don't know why it is. It's maybe, I think women are just generally maybe a little more social sometimes.
I thought you were going to say a little nicer.
No. I don't think it's a niceness thing. I just think, you know, we could be a little more chatty at times. So maybe that's part of it. I hope nobody gets upset about that. But
you never know.
I'm
never know.
Kathy over here, so I don't know.
I mean, I believe that obviously you're coming from a place of knowledge. You've been in these shoes, right?
Yeah.
You know what it's like to to be around other elite athletes who are right on that balance of I can be happy for my competition when they climb well, even though I absolutely want to win every time I come out.
It's a skill in and of itself. Climbing, the sportsmanship in climbing is unlike any other sport. It is so cool to see how athletes can truly support one another and be happy. I mean, when I interviewed Natalia, that was one thing she said. She was so happy to just be climbing in this final with her best friend Brooke RABOUTOU. And whether she won or it's completely authentic. And that's something we don't see in a lot of sports.
No, agreed. Anze not quite solving this. The clock is running down, and at least a zone here is going to be important to keep him in the fight. You're thinking at this point, you got everyone ahead of you with 2 tops.
What's really interesting is that he hasn't seen the heel toe cam because he actually did use a heel toe cam earlier today on one of the semifinal boulders. I think it was men's number 3 with those dishes that they had to traverse on. So he kind of already did this move today.
Oh my goodness, he's just going to go lower first.
To just get a little higher after almost worked. But yeah, you would think that having done that motion earlier, you might think about it, but it's easy to get tunnel vision in 4 minutes.
And be strong, and it's easy to just try and be strong.
And be strong, yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel like people are always wondering, oh, what's the grade of World Cup boulders? And the thing is like they're often not that hard, right? It's just that they're tricky, and like, can you, I mean, they're hard, obviously, but it's not like he's climbing a V16 boulder right now.
No, exactly. It's because you're on, you're on the clock, and because you're on all of the other stresses. The boulders don't have to be, I mean, they're not even V12.
No, I mean, maybe V11 for the men at the most. Yeah, maybe V12 something like that.
But you do find every now and then people post about, sending finals boulders from a comp at their home gym, but it took them an entire session. Like, I taught men's 3, it took you 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you had a lot of help.
Try it in 4 minutes.
Try it in 4 minutes.
Without getting to try it.
So Anze is going to walk away with a disappointing result on this boulder. And he's going to play heavy in his need to move up the standing. That says it all. That sort of the body language of I don't know. I tried as hard as I could, but he didn't try everything.
And lucky for him, he did top the first boulder, which not all of the men did top, so he's not completely out of the game. But to have that boulder done as well would have put him in a much better position moving forward in the round.
Yeah.
I mean, this men's final is kind of all over the place at this moment. People are moving a lot, which I always think is far more exciting.
Yes, agreed.
Because you just never know who's going to win.
Yeah, it's fun to see somebody flash 4 boulders because it's just an amazing show of ability, but I quite like the chess that needs to go on. This is an interesting, the crowd providing feedback is something that occasionally happens. So you stand one way and it's dead quiet, and then turned around and the crowd just immediately started cheering.
Yeah, got super loud, kind of confirming that he was doing the right kind of thing, finding that heel toe cam, calling it that because his heel is on one side of this little crack that's created by the volume, and his toe is on the other, and it's kind of camming it, which is a piece of opposition. It's creating opposition, but the cam itself is a piece of equipment. So it's a fun little technical term that has been created over the years.
You're creating a cam out of your foot as opposed to the device. Once you got through there, I would say that's a pretty easy finish for Jakob.
Which is kind of cool, right? The boulder is just tricky enough that if you don't figure out that beginning section, you will likely not finish the problem. So that creates that separation between the men in this round.
This is, make no mistake, although he walks out of this pretty smoothly, that is a lot of strain, a lot of push-pull going on.
Look at
his hamstrings. And I mean, is the top of that boulder a little bit too easy? Maybe,
but I think you earned it, right?
Yeah, yeah, you did. Great job, Jakob Schubert. Back to Gregor Verzonic.
Reading it right off of the bat as he tries to wedge his foot into that heel toe cam. Going with 2 of them, actually. So maybe overdoing it a little bit, just needs to dial it back and put one foot in there, and I think he'll be able to get out of that.
And a slightly different body position, though, from Jakob. He is entirely facing out, so he's going to take a little more rotation to get around if he does manage to get up there and make it stick.
Yeah, and that was the way they wanted it, was starting facing in and then bringing your foot up. Because I walked up to it, and I immediately turned around, and they were like, no.
Because this is what your mind tells you, is when all else...
But it does seem like this is what's working better.
There is a great expression, when in doubt, face out. So if nothing else is presenting itself, then try to turn around and face the crowd. Manages to hold on. And
See if he can work his way through in a different orientation.
Tried to recover and change his body position, and just not enough going on. There's no feet down there to help you, so you're swinging around campus, and that just immediately puts a strain on your shoulders and forearms.
He's quickly taking a look at that little blue hold to the right, seeing if that's something he could use in some way. Little does he know it's just kind of keeping him from using what
arrête.
Was a little bit of an arrête.
It's like, wait a minute, that looks clever. So still lots of time. He's not burning a lot of time.
Looks like he's getting almost in there a bit better. I mean, honestly, Jakob did have a harder, or not a harder time, but he was struggling to get the foot in there as well, but once he got it in, it was fine. And I think Jakob's a little taller than Gregor, and I think that might be one of the reasons why he's not able to get as high into it.
And he doesn't have it as deep. It's almost acting as a toe catch at this point, and he's not really forcing the heel in far enough, which, as you saw with Jakob, his body language immediately changed. When the heel was going to stick, he just uncoiled and reached up. So Gregor here is not finding the right amount of purchase to be comfortable enough to continue the movement into the rest of the boulder.
Does still have plenty of time, since the top of this boulder is not so difficult as long as you stay present. And he probably can tell that from the bottom. I mean, looking at those pinches, they're pretty chill to watch. Yeah. If you like pinching, you're pretty psyched to see them.
So he's a look at the clock. I thought for a second he was going to walk away.
I know, and then I was like, no way is that happening. Now it's a minute left.
He looked disappointed that there was a minute left. Oh, there's a minute. I probably have to try this boulder again.
I mean, this is that kind of move where if you can just get high enough just for a second to get the heel in and wedge between those two holds, then he'll be able to move through. And it looks like he's finding it.
Much better.
He could work with that. If he was just a little higher.
He was fighting the slide. You could see the foot sliding as he was reaching up, but he's unlocked that little difference. And as we say, getting to zones is important. So not having touched anything on boulder one, you know he's thinking about the zone here.
Just slipping out of it at the end. Unfortunately, not going to make it happen, but really great fight from Gregor.
It's going to take a bit of a toll, I think.
Puts him in a really rough spot for sure.
If you didn't know, there is an IFSC app that has live scoring on it. So if you want to stay up to date with what's going on, you want to download the IFSC WC World Cup Series app, and then you just navigate through to the event, and the scores update very, very quickly. All of the judges use iPads, and they have for many years now, so the scores are getting put into the system almost immediately to when the attempts come up.
We're tech savvy over here.
Yeah, we're getting it right.
Futuristic. Now, this is a position where Adam is generally very comfortable. Getting upside down, leading with his feet, trusting his feet, wedging himself into situations as he quickly gets in there. And
I feel like I've seen him do this exact move on a route.
Exactly, right? And specifically, the heel on his shoe is more of a ball, so it's going to wedge in there very nicely as it's not, I mean, it looks like it's glued in there for a second, right? He wasn't going anywhere. So really nice execution here, and again with that hip flexibility.
And
he's like
resets the heel there. Yeah, that's
so smart.
His knowledge of how his own shape works
is incredible.
Very, very, very remarkable.
He kind of just not sloths his way up, but something like that, right? It's like he's sticking to the wall the entire time. He's not letting there ever be a moment where he's coming away. It's almost is Velcro, actually.
And you see him, he throws the little heel hook at first on the start hold. He thought maybe that was going to be useful, and then he immediately switched feet. It was just the switch goes off in his brain and says, no, 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 no. That
Other
needs to be my left foot. And then
back to wearing the same shoes. The same two shoes.
Just being, I love the careful. He doesn't need to match the volume on the way to the finish hold.
But why not? If you learn anything in these competitions, it's that it's not over until you've matched. So why take any risk as you're on your way to that top hold? It's not necessary. You don't want to have to expend any extra energy. So that's something that the athletes definitely learn, or if they don't, they should learn quickly if they want to be successful in these competitions.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kokoro Fuji here giving it a good brush. He will know that Adam Ondra did that boulder very, very quickly. So while the top is important for him, attempts remain important. So he's going to be thinking about getting this one right at the first or second time. And it looks like he's setting up to just be burly. That could be dangerous because this will burn a lot of attempts.
It's nice though, because I think that doing that move once, it's kind of obvious that it's probably not the way. So if you just do it one time, it shouldn't zap your energy too much. It's only a trouble if we're getting into the 3rd to 5th tries on a powerful movement like that.
He's going to stay with it.
Very interesting.
And it's appealing. It's not very far. The foothold is a bit high, but good. And we've seen him use it. He's very, very mobile with his feet up high. So it's definitely something that's drawing in the climbers who know they can lock off. They can bring that shoulder to their hand and stay in control. I should be able to just straight up do this. And he's going to stay with it.
A little different approach. Looks a little better, but again, expending, well, actually, getting upside down and walking your feet up expends a lot of energy too, so probably an equal amount of energy. But he's just trying to look around for any other thing that he might be missing. I saw it before he started that last attempt. He had a quick look at the start holds again, like, is there a jib somewhere? What's going on? Which is, a sign, of a seasoned competitor, someone who's gonna. He's still
kind of
look. He's like, what is going on? Where is it? What am I not doing?
Where is there a tiny black jib on this black volume? What?
I mean, it happens.
Yep, absolutely. I mean, he's half a fingertip away.
Yeah, if he just gets a little higher, he could make this happen. But it's definitely
I would like to see him.
Stress.
I mean, I don't know if he doesn't even look like he's going to give it one try. So I would love to see him try.
Here we go.
Okay.
Just a different approach, but now hearing the crowd cheer, he's definitely going to keep moving with this method.
He needs to get it a shade higher.
That heel just needs to be able to lock in there.
Right now it's just a toe scrum.
No, but he's kind of making it work here. But at least he's unlocked it a bit. Just over a minute left. Should be enough time to at least get to the zone easily.
If you can get it right.
Toe in there.
You saw him with his right hand. You get squished into the side of the start hold, and he was sort of, running out of room. And he's going to go back.
Well, he's going to just keep
he's
walking
going to
his
wind
foot
up.
up.
Okay,
Just needs to throw it a bit higher. Oh man, I'm just kind of losing it there. It's weird because you can get the toe and then the heel kind of gets stuck, so you kind of have to throw it a little higher so that it kind of sinks into that little wedge between those two bars.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to, instead of wandering in from the bottom, you want to kind of drop it in from the top.
That was almost it. He got really close. Let's see if he has enough time and enough power to kind of swing it up there. This is so close, so close. There we go.
There it is.
Does he have enough time though? He better move quicker. Not gonna make it happen.
So that would be a definite shake-up.
It stays exciting.
Yeah. So Jakob Schubert, after not doing the first boulder, came back strong to do 2 and 3 to keep himself in a podium position and flop over Kokoro, who started 1 and 2 and was unable to do this boulder. Wow. A lot riding on men's boulder 4. Adam Ondra is going to take the win. That is decided. 3 tops. I mean, not necessarily. Not necessarily. I say that just assuming he's going to send the last boulder. So no, it's not decided. Adam Ondra, 3 tops. Mejdi, 2 tops. Jakob, 2 tops. Kokoro, 2 tops. All of them close on attempts. And then we have a little bit of a gap, and Anze and Gregor are at this point climbing to see how they can finish in the other half of the field.
It's definitely not guaranteed, but the last boulder is maybe the most straightforward boulder of the round, so I think it's likely that Adam would top it. So it'd be a crazy occurrence.
It would be a crazy occurrence to have everyone else top it and him not top it, and then we would have an exciting shuffle. But the easiest thing to do is watch the boulders play out. We'll see what happens. We'll watch along with you.
Wow, nicely done.
Very nicely done from Mejdi. Moving confidently. This move here is quite powerful, but it doesn't look like he's short on power.
Just going to need to really stay tight coming into that undercling and have enough power to get high up on that. Nice adjustment coming into that arete. And so excited, the 17-year-old from France really making a name for himself here at his first ever World Cup final, second ever World Cup competition.
That is a really, really, really composed
I mean, how long did that boulder take? Maybe 3 seconds? I don't even know. That was incredible.
No second guessing, and just an awful lot of good movement.
That alone is so impressive in a young athlete, to be so confident like that and just trust your body and know, oh, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm sticking to it, and I'm confident in it. So impressive.
He expended more energy celebrating than he did on the boulder.
Seriously.
Yeah, so that puts him in absolute podium contention. Mejdi Charles from France looking really, really impressive on boulder number 4.
Nice jump there from Anze. He kind of just floated it with barely any effort there. Now, matching here might be a little more difficult for him. He's a little taller. Oh,
he's going to go early.
He could maybe keep his foot there. He could even jump to the end, possibly.
It looked like he thought about it.
But see, it's a little harder because he's falling out from the wall a bit more because he's a little taller, so the biceps aren't as engaged as they were with Mejdi. But
and the foot's quite high there. You know, that's an old trick. Is high feet and bad underclings puts a lot of immediate pressure on your bicep work.
And it also, that's not even just about how tall you are in general, but you could have long arms, and holding that bicep position could be a bit more difficult because your arms are so much longer. It's an easier movement if your arms are shorter. Maybe the only one in climbing.
Yeah, maybe the only one. The levers matter. You would almost always want to have long reach, but every now and then, short arms go a long way. Every now and then.
Occasionally. Gotta have some balance, right?
So, I mean, it's so, just like that, we're on boulder number 4.
Can't believe it.
Right? So we are winding towards the finish of the final here in Salt Lake City. A few surprises potentially to go. Right now, seeing what Anze can do to secure his spot on the leaderboard. A little bit better this time.
Definitely letting go of that foot. Oh. If he would have jumped before the second regrip, I think he would have maybe had a better chance of sticking it. It's funny, being longer, he kind of wanted to keep the foot, but the minute he took it off, it made it so much easier to actually come into the double undercling there.
And I feel here that foot switch would go a long way, but he doesn't look comfortable enough to move that left foot.
I feel like a foot switch in that position can be so scary, especially when you're on underclings, and I believe that's another dual textured foot, and it's so small, so it seems like kind of a risky thing to do, especially when he's pretty close to the finish hold.
Right? Yeah, he's looking at it and thinking, I can generate force from here. It's just a little extra swing. I'll manage it. And he's just coming up, I mean, the tiniest bit short on the the amount of push he needs to get to this last.
And I wonder if you can see the handprint on the left side of the arete from Majdi, because that could be a great indicator that you could just jump and then come in with your left hand with that to create that opposition, which was really key for Majdi to flash the boulder.
Yeah, it's being aware of your surroundings. So this is going to be his last attempt, I think. Fighting hard.
Needs to commit.
Oh, got almost deep enough. And Anze is going to say thank you very much to the Salt Lake City crowd. 20 seconds to go, but I don't think he thinks he's got enough gas in the tank. So a really, really, really good showing from Anze Pahar. A fairly young competitor still, just 23. Which, I mean, it's funny when you have 16 and 17-year-olds.
Yeah, 23 seems old at the time, but it's really not. It's quite young still.
Quite young.
Really great effort there from Anze. And every athlete's always excited when they make the final and have a chance at the podium, and he fought hard today and tonight. And it was great to watch him climb.
Jakob Schubert looking very determined. Just that look on his face when he was looking out across the crowd.
I really like that move. It creates such a fun-looking float that happens. It's really pretty.
Movement.
It's so pretty.
I agree with you. Jakob
firing through this.
Yeah, this is, as you say, it's the simplest boulder. Just requires some squeeze.
Is he going to bring that left hand? Yep.
Yep.
Nicely done. Flash for Jakob Schubert.
A wonderful flash from Jakob Schubert, and he is building the crowd up. That is fantastic and very, very important.
It's going to... We're not going to know who's on the podium till the very end here. Everyone is so close, which I love to see. It really keeps it exciting. Also, just Jakob going and congratulating Majdi. It's so fun to see these older competitors be so supportive and almost mentor the younger competitors, right? Like, it's so cool to see that.
Yeah, he came straight over to him.
Yeah, like
big
right
smile
away.
Right away.
Like, oh my gosh, you're finally, you're crushing it. That's so awesome.
It is. You know, it feels good as the young climber to be included right away.
Yeah.
You know, into the
have
club.
your like climbing legends and people you look up to
for so long.
Be supporting you as well. Awesome climbing from Jakob Schubert. I just tried to create.
Yogurt. You created a new yogurt flavor.
I was trying to combine his first and last name together.
Rosonic floating through. It's a gentle dyno. It is really,
I love
really
it.
nice.
It just makes me feel great.
He's climbing for a lot of pride. You know he wants the top boulders.
Actually, he could move up a spot, I think, if he
Could
did.
move up a spot.
Well, no, I don't think so. Maybe? I can't do that math quick enough.
Yeah. No, he's short of a zone to be able to move up.
Yep.
So you see there.
Yep, not enough zones.
Yeah, no top on the first, no top on the second, nothing on the third. So those two gaps are what hurt him today.
You get sucked into the lower numbers looking at the attempts, and you think, oh, maybe. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Not enough boxes filled.
So yeah, what you see halfway filled. What you see on your screen there is the representation of zones and tops, but without the number of attempts. So that's just giving you the first look. Half boxes are zones, full boxes are tops.
And the main reason for showing it this way is because tops and zones are the most important, because it goes tops, zones, attempts to top, attempts to zone. That's how the breakdown is. So it's not necessary to show it in this graphic with all of the attempts. It's cleaner to just see it with these boxes filled and halfway filled.
Yeah, and then when you want to get down and figure out why there's a difference between Jakob and someone else with 3 tops, when you look currently Namandra, it's the number of attempts is what's making that difference. Every time you see the same number of boxes of the same size,
that means you got to check those attempts.
You got to check the attempts.
Wow, I think we just made that so much easier to understand.
We might have.
I actually
think
so.
We got around.
First time ever.
So Greg took a long rest.
Which is smart, because he's going to want to walk away from this round doing this boulder, and he knows he can. And it's pretty straightforward, so you want to have all the energy to hold this swing at the end, because that's the most difficult part of this boulder.
Just getting in that underclaim, fighting for it here. Oh.
Doesn't see that he needs the opposition there. He thinks he can just hold it.
Hold the pinch, and it's a wide
might be able to if this wasn't the last boulder in the round, perhaps. And you know, we see these World Cup athletes do amazing things all the time, and they are all so strong. So he might think that that's how his fellow competitors did it ahead of time. So it's easy to get sucked into just thinking, I'm gonna be so strong and just hold it.
Just hold it.
I don't need anything else. I'm
Yeah.
gonna hold the swing with one hand and just pinch for dear
On
life.
this gigantic flaring pinch that gets wider the farther back you go.
That you can't even like really throw your left hand up to match either, because you'll probably hit the slippery part of the hole anyway.
Exactly. So Grigor Verzonic, crowd gives him a little bump. 40 seconds to go. Can he go out with the top here?
Moving quickly, trying to stay as efficient as possible. Screaming with all his might to fight through the fatigue. To do this boulder.
And he brought his
finally
hand up.
figured it out,
Yeah.
but just a little too low that time as he tried to jump to the finish hold. If he had figured that out on the first try, he probably would have just flashed it. But
So he'll be disappointed, but every finals
experience,
appearance is worth it, and is
And
it's
also-
points on the season.
Exactly. So it's always something positive to walk away with.
Absolutely.
And,
It
you
might
know,
take a minute. It
Yeah,
might
yeah,
take
yeah.
a minute to find the positive, but it's definitely
It's there. Eventually, it'll be there.
And you see right away, I love that, a little help, a little thank you to the crowd, showing that applause. Adamandra looking just a little bit excited. You know, they know the boulder.
He's heard that people have been doing well on it. He's hearing the crowd cheer and the athletes coming out quickly. So
I just don't see a scenario
I know.
in which he doesn't
Do this boulder.
crush this boulder.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so straightforward. It makes it a little difficult for there to be some kind of fluke thing to happen. And he's just so strong and
So careful. You know, he's not rushing. He's like, I think I can do this boulder, but I'm not going to make any silly mistakes. He is going to switch.
If anyone was going to do the foot switch, I would have predicted it to be him.
And a little help around the corner.
Nice flash there by Adamandra.
Yes.
Just gonna
I want to hear you.
finish out the round. 4 tops, 3 flashes on those tops. Stellar round for Adamandra.
So back-to-back wins for Adamandra. He is excited. No matter how many times you win, it never gets boring.
I mean, I can only imagine. Never had that
having won.
experience.
Yeah.
I can only imagine how amazing that feels.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just one time, but many times.
Yeah, and to just keep that energy up and to be excited for every appearance in a comp. Adamandra really is a great ambassador for our sport.
He really is. And I mean, all of these athletes, it's, you know, the climbing community in general, it's just such a supportive community, and it's nice to see that it continues to stay that way, even though it gets bigger and bigger. So these are the examples for how to be good, very good role models and good sports in general.
Spotlight now on Kokoro Fuji. There are implications here. It gets tricky when you start looking at the math, but a top here makes 3rd place exciting.
It does. It's always exciting when things can change at any moment. And again, you know, finishing with this boulder that is so straightforward, it's likely that Kokoro will be able to, you know, flash it if he has just read the ending of this boulder properly.
As we look at I'm just looking at the numbers, 9 attempts for tops. I think he's still going to keep him behind Jakob, but putting in a great performance here. Looking pretty casual on that.
Gonna go for the no, he didn't see that arrête move with his left hand.
A little bit just a shade too casual.
A little too casual.
Yeah. Which is a bit of a trap to fall into when you know you've got reserves of power to spare, and you think, oh, I'm just going to gently hop to this, and then you've just barely underestimated how far you need to go. So back up quickly before we could show you.
A nice little replay. Just kind of have a lie down for a second. It's always nice to have a break. It's a lot of climbing here.
Yes, there is a lot of climbing.
8th boulder of the day for him. I can do 4 + 4.
Yes.
That's math I can
That's
handle.
the math you can handle at this point in your day. He's just getting a little bit of a rest.
Which is smart because he knows he can do this and he needs to just conserve his energy for the final move on this boulder problem. And, you know, actually coming in on this undercling is a little strenuous as well. But I think the last move is where all of the power is really coming from.
Here we go. Kokoro Fuji, take us home.
Oh, you know, I think he's unsure because of the swing and he doesn't see the arete. He's trying to go a little slower so that it is a little more controlled because he knows that swing is going to be hard to hold, but you can't go that slow because otherwise you're not up on the pinch enough.
Yeah, you've got to get, you've still got to get high enough and far enough and then control the swing. Worry about that when you get there. Don't try and underestimate or sort of undersend the boulder just by trying to keep it in control. You still got to get high, you still got to get over there. So he's an adjustment to make. You wonder, you know, in your head, you're thinking, yes, I still want to fight, but you're running out of a little bit of that real adrenaline momentum of, I can make the adjustment, I can stick this boulder.
Although, I mean, he really should try really hard because if he does top it, he could end up on the podium. And since he was 4th at the last event, it would be nice to finish on the podium here. But 2 back-to-back 4ths is also amazing. Let's see if he can make it happen. Oh, and he does!
He stuck it without needing the side.
Well, he ended up going to it, but at the very last second, it was like he kind of stalled there for a second. Incredible climbing and just control of movement from Kokoro Fuji.
Resilient, a resilient last effort.
Exciting men's final.
Absolutely, and just a big smile from him, down to the wire. Really, really working hard to get that last top covered off. So Kokoro Fuji fighting to keep 4th place, and just the strength it takes to stick that when you saw so many slip. That is a really, really, really good stick from Kokoro Fuji. So here is your presentation. In 3rd place, Jakob Schubert. 3 tops. In 2nd place, amazing performance from the young Frenchman, Mejdi Schalk. 3 tops and a bonus to stay ahead of Jakob Schubert. And with back-to-back gold medal performances, Adam Ondra topping all 4 men's boulders after topping all of the semifinals and all of the qualification boulders. There is your podium for the men. Adam Ondra, Mejdi Schalk, Jakob Schubert. Really, really good climbing. Really, really good boulders. That's going to do it for the final, for the first weekend of our back-to-back weekends here in Salt Lake. Remember, we are still here next week. We have a boulder event and a speed event. So some of the speed athletes will be coming into town to climb in the speed event next weekend. And most of the boulderers are sticking around, especially those that are looking into the combined results and those that are looking to move into the Olympics, which are coming up very, very quickly. Adam Ondra, one of those athletes, and Jakob Schubert. So we're going to see them next weekend. Great performances all around. We saw quite a bit of shuffling in the middle, enough to keep it interesting. Variance in who was doing which boulders and where those zones were coming from. But when the dust settles, Adam Ondra is very, very difficult to beat. Kokoro Fuji with back-to-back 4th place finishes, which, as Megan was saying, is nothing to complain about unless you're trying to get hardware, and then you're just a little bit disappointed that you were that close to getting a medal in the World Cup circuit. Doesn't matter how many times these guys and these women compete, every podium is a worthy experience. So we're setting up to do the podium results, the presentation of the flowers. And now we're going to go to Megan, who's going to talk with Adam Ondra, your men's champion.
Back-to-back bouldering World Cups.
Well, something was definitely very unexpected, but most importantly, it's just amazing to climb in the front of a huge crowd after 2 years. It feels surreal.
And as you can see, the crowd is very happy to be here and be able to watch you climb. Now, you have another objective this year, which is the Olympics. So how does it feel with your training and being able to compete like this 2 weekends in a row and knowing that you have the biggest competition of your life coming up soon?
I mean, I kind of try to stay on the ground because I know that, especially in terms of pressure, this is still kind of like a children's game. In Tokyo it will be way more stressful, it will be way more difficult. Also, the conditions are just amazing today. In Tokyo it will be hot and humid, so it's a nice sign, but still I know that I still have a lot of things to improve, so I'll keep training and we'll see.
Well, it was so exciting to watch you climb here, and I can't wait to see you next weekend as well, and best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Great to hear from Adam Ondra as he continues his dominance on the World Cup circuit. A reminder, as we said, we are back next weekend here in Salt Lake, climbing back to back. On Friday, we're going to run through the speed in 1 day. So we go qualifiers all the way through to finals next Friday, the 28th. Just here, one last look at your leaderboard. Adam Ondra, Mejdi, Jakob, Kokoro Fuji, Anze, and then Gregor Vazonik fishing out in 6th place. Next Saturday, we are going to have the qualification for the Boulder event. And then on Sunday, we're going to run semis and finals. So just 1 day different from this weekend, and that's with the addition of the speed event on Friday. And if you have not watched a lot of speed climbing, I absolutely recommend it. It is an exciting, exciting, exciting event. A recap of your women's final: Natalia Grossman, hometown win, 4 tops, wonderful, wonderful performance. ORIANE BERTONE from France, 3 tops, 4 zones, getting her into 2nd place. And then Brooke RABOUTOU, the other young American woman, getting 3 tops to secure 3rd place. Rounding out the women's field, MIHO NONAKA, also with 3 tops, and just coming up a couple of attempts short. So 7 versus 4 attempts, so 3 attempts being the difference there for a podium for MIHO. 5th place, Jessica PILZ from Austria, and then rounding out the women's top 6, JOHANNA FÄRBER, also from Austria, 1 top, 2 zones. So we are going to do the presentation of the hardware as the sun starts to go down here in Salt Lake City. Thanks for hanging out with us. Really, really enjoyed bringing you this event from Salt Lake City. Megan is going to make her way back. It's hard to get through the crowd here. The interview spot is on the other side of the wall. But we were really, really happy to bring you all of this action and hopefully keep you engaged. Maybe you learned something about climbing. Maybe you learned something about competition climbing that you didn't know before. And you got to see some absolute top shelf performances from some of the best competition climbers in the world here in Salt Lake City. So we're just getting set up. You can see here the podiums are I love it. The podiums are coolers from Yeti coolers. It's always great to see a little bit of creativity when it comes to putting a podium together. And this time we're going to get to see athletes standing on top of coolers to receive their hardware here in Salt Lake City. A reminder, if you came in a bit late or if you missed some of the women's or some of the men's final, still available on the IFSC YouTube channel. It'll be up there for longer than you need. So absolutely go back and re-watch. Get caught up with what happened. Go back and watch the semifinal if you're interested. Some really, really good climbing in the semifinal as well. Those boulders were really, really interesting. A tip of the hat to the route setting crew here. They did an absolutely incredible job separating out these climbers. They created some wonderful boulders to put on a show for us. They looked good, they climbed well, and they gave the crowd exactly what they were looking for. Adam Ondra, very happy. Hey, Megan?
So excited. It's actually so cool to see someone who's won so many times still just be so excited. it's amazing. You can just tell he loves climbing so much.
He does.
And I was just talking to him after a little bit, just wondering what his favorite boulders were. And he actually said the last one was his favorite just because it had really good movement and was really enjoyable to climb, which, I mean, it looked like it had great movement and was fun to climb. So nice to hear that.
Yeah, it is nice to hear that. And it's also kind of an interesting perspective to, you know, look back at sometimes a boulder that kicked your butt might be your favorite boulder. You're like, man, that one took a lot of effort. You know, it made me dig deep. I fell off a bunch of times and I persevered, and that's the one that's going to stick in my mind. And sometimes it's the one that you just got to squeeze and float your way through and just feel good movement makes a big difference. And that boulder had really, 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 as you say, beautiful movement. And
Yeah.
I was just saying a tip of the hat to the route setting crew.
Yeah, they did a wonderful job this weekend.
Yeah, and remember that when all of the rounds are counted up, you have 10, 18,
let's
22
see.
boulders.
Sounds about right. That's a lot of boulders.
It's a lot of boulders, and they full run them. They're here all week. The route setters are working early.
Sometimes it's more than that when you have two groups for qualies, but they were lucky here to only have to have the one group for both men and women qualies.
And I believe, according to the registration, we are going to have to split the qualifications next weekend. So if you're not familiar, if there is over a quota of 60 athletes, because of the wait time in isolation, and you can't just have a comp run for that long, they will split the qualification into two groups. So half of the field will climb on one set of boulders, half the field will climb on another, and then they get ranked in there, and you pull the top 10 from each side. Sometimes the boulders are of similar difficulty. They try really hard, but really what it's about is you compete against your own grouping.
Exactly, and the way they determine that grouping is by doing it based off of the rank on the circuit. So if you don't have a rank, you kind of just get scrambled at the end, but they'll go rank number 1 on one side, rank number 2, 3, 4, so that they're splitting them up, which I don't know, when I was competing, I feel like we were always like, oh, like you'd always be like, oh, I'm on the hard side, when it's like in reality, you know, it is supposed to be pretty fair in the terms that it's split up, and it is. It's just that sometimes there will be athletes that are a little more consistent on those lower or those lower ranks, and so it ends up being more competitive on one side than the other.
And the funny thing is that you only really should be disappointed about what side you're on after it comes out, because not everybody climbs to their ranking on any given day. So you might be on the hard side because you have the best boulderer, and then end up having them have an off day, and you get to wander your way into a semifinal.
And then there's the unranked climbers that you know are good, right?
Yes.
So like, for example, Mejdi or ORIANE, like, you know, in Myringen, they wouldn't have had a rank because they've never been in a Bouldering World Cup before at that time. But, you know, they came out and crushed, and again crushed here. So it's the two group thing is always tricky.
It is. So let's check in on the presentation here.
The awards will be presented by Mr. Kobe Toru, Vice President of the International Federation of Sport Climbing, Mr. Marcos Solares, President of the International Federation of Sport Climbing, and Ms. Debbie Bowers, Secretary General of the International Federation of Sport Climbing. Without further ado, let's hear it from our bronze medalist, Austria,
Jakob Schubert. We get a good look at that, a trophy that's probably the front mountain range, I would imagine, here in Salt Lake.
It's nice. It kind of matches the wall.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have to cough. Sorry, everyone.
But look at that. That's a really nice looking trophy, and they try and be regionally specific in a lot of places. And there's your third place, Jakob Schubert. Happy to be up there.
And after not making the semi at the last event, being on the podium is going to be
a big
really
boost.
Great for him.
Yeah, a really big boost.
And again, an athlete in a different training cycle because he's going to be going to the Olympics. So
your second place finisher, Mejdi Schalk, could not be more excited to be standing on a podium.
What a great way to start his
oh my goodness, adult
World
career.
Cup circuit career. Yeah, I mean, it's so incredible.
And then back-to-back gold medals from this man right here, Adam Ondra. And I mean, as you said, he's so excited.
I love it.
He's jumping up and down. He likes to be good at stuff, and he is. And there's a...
And that's something I feel like from Yanya too. Always so excited, and both of them are so humble. It's so cool because they're such incredible athletes and have the craziest records already.
And they don't let that success get in the way of their ability to move in and around their fellow competitors.
Exactly.
So we'll take a moment as we play the national anthem for Adam Ondra. One last look at the men's podium. And we'll clear them out. Get the women up here for their well-deserved recognition. The crowd, I'm going to warn you in advance.
They're going to be a little loud.
It's going to get pretty loud here.
Yeah, if you thought it was loud when they were competing and climbing, like, let's just wait till you have two Americans on the podium.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. And I just want to put a bit of a shout out to the organizing committee here. The event has run seamlessly. Lots of volunteers available. Everything seems to be going well. Delicious food trucks, which is always nice.
Always nice.
But running very smoothly. The IFSC crew, as always, getting things dialed in here in Salt Lake City. But the local federation representatives have absolutely done an incredible job. John Muse, I was saying to him earlier today, you look so calm under what is a lot of chaos. And he said, yeah, it's just part of his personality, and he has kept things in check here this weekend in Salt Lake City, steps away from the USA Climbing headquarters. So we are on home turf for USA Climbing. We are going to bring out our podium on the women's side.
It's already getting loud, and they haven't even stood on top of those
Yeah,
Yeti
exactly.
coolers yet.
They're just walking
just
over.
a little taste for what's about to go down.
Yeah. And I'm sure that ORIANE will get a similar
Oh, for sure.
response.
I mean, it's funny because you have 20-year-old, 19-year-old, 16-year-old, I think.
16 years
Yep.
old.
Very young podium.
Very young podium.
Very different from the men's podium.
Right? And as we were saying, experienced youth athletes, but the transition is worth noting. So in third place, Brooke RABOUTOU. I know she's smiling under there. Your silver medalist from France, ORIANE BERTONE, 16 years old, showing incredible composure through this final and through all the rounds, really.
Yeah, it's still so crazy. It's only your second World Cup. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Natalia Grossman with the win for the women here on hometown turf. A dream of hers since she was a little girl. I'm gonna cry.
I know, that's why I asked you.
I'm sorry.
I looked over at Megan. I knew she's been emotional through the finals because these are her people, and I thought I'm just gonna see.
You're just gonna put me on the spot and make me cry.
Yeah, I love the
I mean,
emotion. I love the emotion. I
thing
think
is
it shows
too,
the support.
I mean, her parents moved her from California to Colorado when she was, I mean, she just got out of high school a few years ago, and she did that to train for a day like this. So, very
Well
exciting.
deserved. Very exciting. And now the American national anthem. Lift of the trophies for your women's podium. Very, very proud of their achievements here today. And
we get to
potential
come
to
back
repeat
next weekend.
We're going to be back next weekend. All right, so remember, next weekend we're back in Salt Lake City. We're staying here. You can come back and join us. Speed is going to go down next Friday, and I absolutely recommend that you check that out. The speed specialists are going to come here and put up some blistering times. Saturday is going to be qualifications. Sunday is going to be the semifinal and the final.
If you're in the Salt Lake area, please come out and see us.
Yeah, come down and hang out. Thanks for being with us. Pete Woods here, Megan Martin, thank you so much. I really, really enjoyed working through today and watching and, you know, enjoying climbing with you.
I did too. It was a blast. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in 1 week's time.